2 check. 2. No, it's not a recorded loop. If it's not a recorded loop, how would I be saying this? Unless I predicted that you were going to write that. Unnamed chatter. Unless I predicted whether someone was going to question whether this was a pre-recorded loop. Maybe I predicted that. Chin chin. The mic sounds different. That is not great. Okay, but hear me out. What if we choreographed this convo in the recorded loop? That would be interesting, wouldn't it? That would be very interesting. Then no one would know. Then no one would know. Crazy. Gain compressor. 2. You can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
2 to chin chin stereotypical leftist audio moment. Slorp 2 Bort.
I am getting some issues here. Is it just a matter of turning the input down? Is that it? Johnny Dialectically, thanks for the 7 months. Tier 1. Thank you, Johnny. I appreciate it. This lunch that I just had was tremendous. It's actually leftovers of my dinner last night. But it was an absolute banger meal, honestly, that I made last night for myself. I made my son hot dogs. He had hot dogs and French fries and cucumber. And I made myself an absolutely banger meal of these like chicken thighs with spicy buldak curry noodles and bok choy with like garlic and all kinds of stuff in there. And I had no more bok choy, so for my leftovers here, I just put some kimchi on the side. And it was really good. Like, it was really fucking good. That whole plate that I just ate, that whole plate of food. Really good. Yeah, there's something fucked up going on here with the mic. I don't know what it is. It shouldn't be picking up any of that kind of audio. This is great. I love this. I love this. This is my favorite. Everyone's doing ASMR. One thing I gotta say, and something that I did, some self-care stuff that I did today. Maybe if you want to say that you're proud of me, I mean, you can. I'm not going to tell you what to say, but if you want to say that you're proud of me, you can do that. But I did do, right before logging on here, I did some yoga with Adrian. I did some yoga with Adrian right there on the rug, right before logging on. I've had some neck and back pain lately. And I did some yoga with Adrian, neck and back stretches for about 10 minutes. And I feel like it didn't totally cure me. I definitely liked it. I did think it was good. Did you do the neck stretch I taught you? That was part of it. That was kind of part of the whole routine. Thank you, Mistress of Insanity. Thank you. We got a number of people saying they're proud of me, and I appreciate that. No, it's good. You know what? I think I can do this every day. I think I can do this every single day. 10 minutes. I got a rug here. I got my TV. I can do 10 minutes of that. It didn't totally cure me. Well, it's just one session, it needs to be more. It needs to be more than that. Oh, I don't know if I could do an hour yet. I would have to work my way up to that. I would have to work my way up to the 10 minutes was pushing it for me. I definitely still feel a little stress and pain in my neck there, but I did enjoy it though. Not long now before excuse me, Automod caught this message from Johnny Dialectically. He says, not long now before Rob is a BJP supporter assassinating Sheikh Punjab separatists. That's not what I'm going to be doing. I'm just stretching my neck and that's it. Okay? I'll go tier 3 sub for yoga stream. I'll consider it. It would literally just be a matter of like turning my camera where it is now, just turning it 180 degrees. Finally got back to yoga class last night after holiday hiatus. It's awesome. Good. I think I can get into this. I think I can do this. I talked often about like when you have like creative projects and you make excuses why you don't do those and how you just need to do it. I think exercise is one of those things for me. I think you can take that philosophy and apply it to a lot of things. You're always waiting for the right conditions, right? When you don't really exercise enough, you're always waiting for the right conditions. It's too cold. I can't go to the gym. I can't play basketball because I'm so out of shape and I don't want to embarrass myself. There's always reason after reason why you can't start doing it, but really it is just there's really no reason why you can't just start doing some stuff. There's really not. It's just a matter of fucking doing it. And I guess for me it's just taking the pain that I have to live with as a 40-year-old man. Okay, maybe I need to start addressing this in some way. I literally sit here in this chair for like 4 or 5 hours a day. I do the stream for 3-4 hours. I'm gaming. Last night I was playing this movie trivia game with Orb Lady, and we did very well, and she was very good and did not get stressed about it. She was very smooth and slick and composed the whole time. So I'm sitting here this whole day, though, and my spine is getting all these weird shapes, Like, I can't, it's not healthy. It's really, like, I genuinely really do need to start taking care of my decaying meat prison. I really do. I really, really do. So I think I can start to do that. I'll even consider doing doing a stream for it. I could do that. You've made a start. That's where you have to do. Whether you're talking about a creative project, whether you're talking about physically improving yourself. I got to stop not sleeping and drinking and doing drugs. It's beginning to catch up to me. I definitely don't drink very much. I don't drink very much. I drink not very regularly. Maybe once or twice a month. Very rarely to excess. I feel okay about that. The sleep needs to be better. I don't know. I sleep about 6-7 hours. It's not that bad. You want to do a hoodie check? Dollar bill. This is merch. This is merch for my think tank, Rousseau Institute for Western Destabilization. You can purchase this hoodie if you want. If you want, okay, this is getting like, tighten that up back there. The mics, look at this. If you want, they often go on sale on the TeePublic store. If you want to buy this hoodie, it's a really great hoodie. I love the design, and I love destabilizing the West, which is one thing that I like to do on here and in my spare time as well. A lot of the times there are sales on there, and you can do so at the link in the chat right there. So maybe that's one thing I can do. I can take 10, 15 minutes a day to do a little body self-improvement in addition to like walking and that kind of stuff. And I can take 10, 15, 20 minutes a day to read. You know, sometimes it's like the new year, you set these super unrealistic goals about like what you're going to be able to do. I'm going to change my whole life around or whatever. That is doable. That is doable. Does Teespring take cloud points? I wish that they did. Believe me, that would be great. That's totally doable, to take 10 or 15 minutes to do some stretching or yoga and takes 15 or 20 minutes to read a fucking book. Audiobooks while working out is elite. I don't doubt that it is, and I don't know if other people feel this way. Mistress of Insanity, I can't get into audiobooks. It feels wrong. I like listening to basketball podcasts, and I like to listen to music, but I don't. My dad has tried to get me into audiobooks so much. My dad loves audiobooks, and every time I see him, he's like, wow, he tells me about all his favorite like audiobook readers and stuff, and he tells me all about it, and he gives me USB keys with audiobooks on them, and I just don't listen to them. I don't know. I like. It's funny because I say that I like having the tactile book, but then I don't do that either. I don't know. When it comes to reading a book, I like to sit there and have the pages in my hand and turn the pages. What kind of b-ball pods do you like? Well, I'm a Raptors guy, so I listen to the Raptors show that Sportsnet does with Will Liu and Blake Murphy, who's a friend of mine, actually. Very cool guy that I know from online. So I listen to that a lot. When the Raptors are winning, when bad stuff is going on, I don't listen as much. When good things are happening, I like to listen to that. Following along with the audiobook with the text helps me get started reading. Eventually I can shut the audio off and I'm reading away. That's an interesting strategy. Like last night. Well, Dakadoon, last night was frustrating, but I wanted to listen to the anger because people were angry. I don't want to listen or absorb any of that kind of media when the Raptors are playing badly and they look like shit and it's not fun to watch the games. They're actually playing really well right now since the trade. Last night was very unfortunate, but they looked great. I thought it was a great game. Great game against the Lakers last night. Unfortunate that I think the refereeing had to take the kind of like become part of the narrative at the end. I think it was a real shame because it took away from the fact that it was a really good game and both teams were playing really well. The thing is, though, Dan, I came in prepped for this. I was hot last night. I was mad about this. I was pissed off. Let's call it what it is. I was pissed off. I was hot. I was hot under the collar. And, taking nothing away from how good the Lakers played last night. Both teams played hard, my man. That's right. Classic. You get some real nuggets of wisdom. Rasheed Wallace, really, from particular. He's very zen in a way. In both teams played hard, quote, iconic quote, and the other one, which was, of course, was just in my mind a moment ago, ball don't lie. Ball don't lie. You can apply that to a lot of other things. Anyway, it was frustrating. It was a really good game. Like the Lakers have LeBron and AD. AD had a fantastic game. Like, it's impossible to guard, especially when the Raptors don't really have any serviceable big men at the moment. A couple of really bad calls down the stretch, though. The flagrant call on Quickly, which was a huge swing. It was an offensive foul, but they called him a flagrant foul when he's driving to the basket and his elbow caught, I think, Cam Reddish on the chin, and they called it an flagrant foul. That was very frustrating. Anthony Davis, a 7'2", what is he, 265 pounds something, man, just a giant man, runs into a screen from RJ Barrett, and then just falls down and rolls around on the ground and gets that call and erases a game-tying three from
You can count on me.
Scotty
You're gonna have
Barnes.
good old Rob
come
to
on.
talk you
He's
through all
a
this.
gigantic man. You know? He's a huge man. It's lame, I think, to see that kind of thing, and then right in the stretch of the game. And again, erasing a game-tying three. And then just getting every call the other way and nothing getting called on the other side. It's one thing if you're going to call, it was an Embiid kind of play. And I hate to be one of those people, Dakadoon, that's like, we're back in the old days, that kind of thing. It's like, I love modern NBA. I like a lot of things about it, but that's just I find it a little lame when you're this big defender, and he had an amazing game, not to take anything away. But to flop like that right down the stretch of a close game rather than just playing hard defense. That's what should be, that's what we want to see as fans. Toilet Bowl Toots. One of the original valued community members, Toilet Bowl Toots, next for 30 months tier 1. I'm not complaining, but I think Jay, sometimes when you're sports fans, you're just oh, it's the reffing, and you just have excuse after excuse. AD had an amazing game. The Lakers were hitting big shots down the stretch. It was really, that's the frustrating thing. It was a really entertaining game, where both teams were playing really well. And it was annoying, I think, to just have bad officiating become the sort of narrative. It took away from what could have been just a really good game to watch. But the Lakers were hitting big shots. I mean, there's no getting around that. Raptors front court is a big issue, especially with Precious out. Well, and now Jakob Poeltl is hurt as well. Yeah, waiting for Reeves to miss that shot and then calling the foul. Yeah, it's just it's one thing if it's equal, but it's they're calling everything on one side, and then you have Scotty Barnes driving to the basket each time and again taking contact, and it's a contact. There's always physicality like that, and just not getting any calls. Even when they're down 4 and he goes and drives the lane and dunks through all kinds of contact and then doesn't get an and one. It's just frustrating. It's not the only reason that anything happened. Again, it was a really good game, but it was frustrating to watch. I'm loving. I really like Jonte Porter, Dollar Bill. I'm happy to see him out there. Like I said, I mentioned Blake Murphy just wrote a really good piece about Jonte and the hard work that he's had to put in to get back to playing in the NBA. Someone who had at a very young age had multiple catastrophic knee injuries and thought about just not playing anymore, and has worked his fucking ass off to get onto an NBA team. And he seems like he's got a lot of potential too, so it's it's a really cool story. How deep do you think the NBA ref gambling scandal goes? And then Dakadoon says, seems like the leagues with the most gambling endorsements have the worst refs. I mean, it is definitely really weird having all the refs and all the players and gambling being totally encouraged by the league, and all the refs and all the players being aware of the over under and the money line and all this stuff. It's it's a little weird. There's a reason that they've had to separate the idea of gambling and from the professional leagues and stuff. And all the players are aware of like what the numbers are and everything, and all the refs. It's a little weird, definitely. You don't want to be too much of a conspiracy theorist about it. Anyway, like, it was a frustrating game. It was a really good game, honestly, that if it just like, if you didn't have to think about the reffing, it would have been frustrating to lose, but it's like, it was still a good game. But a couple of really bad calls and a couple of really bad non-calls. And in the Raptors and Kings game the other day, Quickly was fouled on the tying 3 late in the game, which was not called, and then the NBA eventually said like, oh yeah, by the way, that should have been called. So it's like, that's multiple games now on this road trip. I think they're 2-2 on this West Coast road trip, and both of those games have had very questionable officiating that they lost. Anyway, listen, I know sports talk, Raptors talk is not for everybody. I get it. But it's something that I'm interested in and that I think a lot about. And I don't have a sports podcast to talk about this stuff, so I do it here. Okay? I talk about sports on here sometimes, and you're just going to have to like it. Okay? It's clearly anti-Canadian discrimination. Thank you. We were all thinking it, and Mr. Civ Insanity is putting it out there. I will not have to like it. Was it like a 16 free throw disparity last night? Yeah, Decadent. And part of that was because like at the end of the game, they're down 4 and they're down 5 and they're fouling intentionally. I think there was like 5 or 6 intentional fouls at the end, which increased the disparity in the fourth. But like I said, it's a matter of making calls on one end and not on the other end. Like that's the reason they were in that hole in the first place, is because one team is getting every call every single time and the other team is getting no calls whatsoever. So that's why that disparity was there. But it was, the AD flop was very annoying. I was pissed off. I was pissed. Again, he's a huge man. The free throw disparity is a bit of a red herring. Of course, Davis is going to be hammered by Toronto's weak bigs. That's true. And like some of those, like I was watching the game. A lot of them were fouls. But it's just at the other end, and Darko Rajakovic, the Raptors coach, was losing his mind after the end of the game because of this. But like, that's it. A lot of them were fouls, but then you have Scotty Barnes on the other end, taking the ball to the basket, taking tons of contact, and then not getting those calls. That's the frustrating thing. It's not that I think the calls are just being handed out. So he needs some yoga to cool off. I need some yoga to cool off because I've got bad neck and upper back pain. Yeah, the AD flop was very annoying. Like, come on. This giant man running into RJ Barrett and going, oh! The pain's most likely related to bad posture. Well, I'm sure that doesn't help, but it was something at night. Like at night I like pinched a nerve or something like that. By the way, Rob, you look at Steam's store page recently. No? PM Trio, is there anything on there that I should be looking at? Connor Harris on YouTube is a godsend for posture stuff. Okay. I'll keep that in mind. I'm thinking about someone that just tuned into the stream for the first time after like all the big craziness of yesterday, and is like, is this what this is? Why is this guy getting canceled? Why is he being silenced and censored? This man's just talking about eating noodles, doing yoga, and watching the Toronto Raptors basketball team. I don't know how you can sit so long for the stream. I have to stand from time to time. Yeah, it's probably not good, as I was saying. And like 3 hours is one thing. Definitely, if you go longer, then you can't handle that. The NBA Referees Association is on your ass. Lodane, you don't know? Oh my goodness, Lodane. Oh my goodness. That's funny. Lodane, oh, nothing happened, except that yesterday I was at the center of a international news story and controversy. I was caught up right in the middle of a feud with the world's richest man and dipshit social media owner and owner of SpaceX and Tesla. Maybe not the center. I was on the periphery. I was part of a story, okay? The story was at the center and I was on the periphery. It wasn't just Ken, it was a bunch of different journalists. I'm looking at that I'm trying to find that NBC News story. There's an NBC News story on it. And I gave some fire quotes for this story, but not all of them made it into the piece. Elderly blogger. Elderly blogger Rob Rousseau was unfairly silenced and banned. And was bailed out by Haxon Stinkle, I think his name is. Yeah, I'm sorry you're dealing with that stuff, Lodane. That sucks. I'm not holding it against you that you didn't you weren't out of the loop for this stuff. If you're dealing with that annoying bullshit. I hate that shit. Anyway, it was a pretty wild time. It was a pretty wild situation. There's the NBC News article about it. Again, I gave some really good quotes that didn't make it in, but I did get a quote that made it in. So very exciting. It was a very exciting situation. Rob Rousseau, another of the people whose accounts were suspended and restored Tuesday. I think she did mention that I do a podcast and stream on Twitch. Is there any direct evidence linking the whole thing to Ackman? No, not at all. It's all just speculation, totally circumstantial. That's right. I'm no longer a blogger. I'm back to being just a regular person. Let me just try something here. I'm still trying to improve my mic quality. So that probably just turned down the volume a decent amount, right? And I'm going to turn up the physical input. 2, 2, 2, 2, check. How's that? How does that sound? I saw the squirrel account got a tasty quote in. I guess maybe if I had said something profound or something when my account was restored. But instead I just talked about apples. Because I thought that would be funny. And it was. The Twitter deep state wants you to have a slightly off audio quality. So we got an audio hiss situation. The Honeycrisp tweet was profound. Thank you, Farflight. Thank you. What was your quote that didn't make it? I think the one that I remember was talking about Elon's excuse that, like, oh, sometimes we do sweeps for bots and scam accounts. And I was like, it speaks to the intelligence of the average Elon Musk supporter that anyone would ever believe that. Or something along those lines. And I talked a lot of, I don't know, I was talking a lot of shit. I was talking a lot of shit. What an interesting day that was, though. Wow. Sounds like you need a noise profile to remove that. Yeah, I mean, you could. I don't know. I know how that would work on like a podcast audio, but I don't know how it would work live to have some kind of a noise remover thing. Today feels like a bit of a letdown. I don't know, Sean. I ate some yummy food. I talked about basketball. That's fun. That's fun. That's fun for everyone. It's weird that the hiss only started after January 9th, the day that we'll live in infamy. The thing is, I didn't change anything. This is the frustrating thing. I did not change anything about my setup. So I don't really get what the fucking issue is. It's the man. Maybe you needed a reboot. I guess that's possible. I don't know. I hate having hissy audio. I don't want that. And I also don't want to do live audio troubleshooting either. None of these things are good. You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Pin be free.
Butt Nerd 69. Thank you for 9 months. Of tier 1. That's a stream baby, Butt Nerd. That's a stream baby. Valued community member, Butt Nerd 69. We'll worry about this later, okay? We'll do it live. We'll do it live. Go easy on it. We can't expect an elderly Canadian blogger to have top shelf audio. Oh, Jesus Christ. It'll be fine. Okay, let's not worry about it. Let's not do this. Okay? Hold on, I'm gonna take a picture and post it to try and post this link on Twitter here. What is this? What am I doing? What pose am I? I'm trying to take a screenshot. It's like, what do I do? Do I do this? Just act natural. Look at how relaxed this guy is. Look at how relaxed. Wow. It's funny because oh, Jesus Christ. The natural Rob look is so hot right now. Okay. We got a screenshot. Former boy band member can't pose. The thing is, Cinnamon Challenge, I was never comfortable with that, with doing photo shoots and that kind of stuff for that exact reason. I always felt super self-conscious and weird in any of those moments. You were in a boy band? Kind of, yeah. We don't need to get into it right now. We don't need to get into this particular lore right now at this moment, okay? We've talked about that enough. Yeah, it was a bit. We played instruments, that's true. Like, let's be, like, it's a joke. We're just doing a joke. We did play instruments. I agree, Lodane, thank you. One sec. Just one moment here. Just one moment. Just got to adjust a few things here. Just bear with me. Okay. All right. This screenshot is so bad. This is terrible. This is not going well today. Okay. Are we supposed to be getting more snow? It's sunny and +4. I need to go to the medicine store for my medicine. Yeah, it was weird. Honestly, we were getting this big snowstorm hype. And it snowed a lot last night, and then it just warmed up again and turned into rain, and now it's kind of like a lot of it melted. It was kind of a letdown. I think we might be getting more at some point. Ron was the 8th member of S Club 7. No, we did play with the popular kind of English band at that time called McFly. It wasn't S Club 7 level, but they were like, I don't know. I don't know how to describe, kind of pop punk, but like kind of even more sort of like Disney. I don't know. What if Rob's the new guitarist for Smashing Pumpkins? I could do that. Sam, you know McFly. You know McFly. We played one show with them. Yeah, I remember. That was the era that I was there in the UK a lot, Sam. What's on tap? I don't know. There's plenty of things. Like yesterday, we didn't really watch a lot of. I wonder if what happens if I put this off. Did that affect the hissing situation at all? The static situation? Did that have any impact? Two. No impact. Okay. Just checking. And so anyway, like yesterday we just chatted all day, talked about all the craziness going on. And, you know, there's plenty of like video stuff we could take a look at. I just saw on Street Carpet, we're going to talk about Twitch layoffs. I just did see that story about these layoffs happening at Twitch. Well, you know, the Amazon Corporation is really hard up right now. It's understandable. It's understandable. The Amazon Corporation, you know, what they can't afford all this stuff. They can't afford to pay all these people. Are you getting fired? I hope not. That's the beauty of this job. They can't fire me. I guess they could technically just kick me off the platform. You can't fire me. I quit. They can't afford it when they're renting their own web services for obscene rates. Exactly. Thoughts on Kick? I don't know. We made fun of it when it launched. It just seemed like a gambling thing, pretty much. Streamers just taking too big of a piece of the pie. I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. Thoughts on Cuba not backing the South Africa motion? That's very disappointing to me. If true, that is very disappointing. I would like to have they like come out firmly or strongly against it or something like that. Because that would be a big difference to me. I am really looking forward to when those hearings start. I'm really looking forward to following all that. Is that tomorrow? So, I don't know. You tell me. When does it kick off? Oh, you know what? One thing I got to say. Everyone's subbed too hard to Rob in September, and now they're having to do layoffs. Exactly. It's very unfortunate. I'm still waiting to get confirmation on this. Something somewhat unfortunate has happened, which I should mention, which is that we had this live show coming up on Saturday, which I've been talking about. It's very exciting. I was a little I'm nervous about it and anxious about it, but it's really cool and exciting. News came through last night that Nashwa Khan, who is the co-host of this show that we're doing, along with myself and Paris Marks, has COVID. Which has kind of thrown the whole thing into a bit of chaos. So I don't know. I'm a little nervous about the whole thing. I really don't want to do the show without Nashwa. At the same time, it's like in a few days, and a bunch of people have confirmed, like it's taken a lot of organization. There's a lot of people coming, and like organizations going to like table there and stuff. So there's a part of me that just wants to just say, fuck it, let's just go ahead and do the event and figure out some kind of solution. But it's a little like nerve-wracking. You know, I was already anxious about it, and you know, I really don't want to do it without Nashwa, so we're kind of like exploring options for what to possibly do. I'm not really sure. You know, I'm not really sure what the best course of action is. I don't really feel good about anything. I don't really feel good about doing the show, and I don't feel good about punting it. So I don't really know what's going on with that. We got a day to figure it out. I think today we're landing on something. I think there's a possibility it might get postponed, and there's another possibility that we might just be going ahead with this thing and just trying to fucking do something. Yeah, I don't think we would want to do it like via satellite kind of thing. I think the whole thing, Lodane, is that it's live and then everyone's in person and we're there talking and it's like a live event, you know? And she's sick as well, so you get a ringer in. I mean, that's a possibility as well, but like I know that that's a possibility. I really don't want to do this show without Nashwa, though. She's a really big part of the whole thing. And bringing in an audience as well. Well, we talked yesterday, Lodane. I think the thing is, what we came down on from her was that she can't do it on Saturday. That's pretty much where we landed on that. Well, I don't want to pull up the ad if I'm advertising for an event that's not happening. This is the whole problem. And I'm pulling up an ad with someone now that's not going to be doing the show. So what we might do is see if I think tentatively we're seeing if, but what is it? We're just having an event here in Montreal, Catalepsy Kills. I've been thinking about doing like live stuff for quite a long time. And that's something that I've wanted to do for a long time. And so we had this show planned for this weekend. And one of the three co-hosts now has COVID, so now we're thinking about other times we can do it. But it's just a night that we can talk about Canadian media, basically. That's the whole thing. We're just hanging out. We're doing a live performance, podcast recording, gathering, meeting thing. And so I guess just right now we're just seeing, we might postpone it 1 week, or we might do it on Saturday. I think those are the two options. We're seeing if postponing it 1 week is an option, and if not, we're just going ahead and doing the thing. But it sucks because I did really want to do it with Nashwa and Paris. But either way, if we do end up doing it, it will be cool. It will still be cool. It's just a little nerve-wracking. It's the first such live event that we're doing. Hopefully this in a first of many. And, you know, you want everything to go smoothly or whatever. And now it's 5 days out and we're having to like reevaluate the whole fucking thing, you know? So that's not great. That's not ideal. If we do go ahead with it though, I am sure that it will be fantastic. I think we should know more about that. Maybe even live. Maybe I'll even get the word live about what's going on with that. Kijiji can fly into Montreal. Okay, good to know. You just turn it into a Raptors thing. Just talk about that. Just talk about the Toronto Raptors basketball team. Get yourself sick and let Paris handle it. That's an interesting strategy. But not say any, have local streamer XQC fill in. That's a good idea. I think the idea would be to not say anything until right before. I think I should call in at about 6 p.m. and just be like, I can't do it. I think that would probably be the ultimate rock star move. Pull the Axl Rose is a power move. You know, it's a way to assert dominance. Wait till right in the last minute. It's impossible to cancel. Good luck, Paris. If it's comforting and all, if there's anyone who would be understanding about COVID absences, it'd be people who come to your event. Yeah, no, absolutely, Dr. Maggot. It's just, you know, it's like, with the whole thing about doing this is like, oh, are people going to show up? Are we going to embarrass ourselves? And it felt like there's a little bit of excitement and there's actually people going to be there, you know? So it's like, I don't want to waste that. I think if we can kick the can 1 week, I think we're going to do that. Five minutes in, my throat's a little sore. I'm out of here. Maybe someone will give your money back or something. Take off. Big riot starts. Anyway, I will let folks know what's going on with that. Honestly, I feel super anxious about it, frankly. I do. And I have a whole childcare thing going on that I got to figure out as well at the same time. It's really not ideal circumstances to be doing like a live performance. But you know what? But fuck it, you know, at the same time. 2024 coming in hot. That's right. It started off with me sweatily singing Bob Seger songs. And then the incident yesterday, and now this. What else we got in store here? The incident. I'm here mostly for the Father Rob ASMR. He's here to help me get through it. It's not a cult. No, it's not. I mean, it's everyone understands this. Everyone understands that that's not what this situation is. Right? It's a triangle. Two-dimensional. Your plans are getting undermined like a New York tunnel. I was so distracted yesterday that I barely even looked at any of this tunnel business. Like, what the hell's going on here? And then I saw Eric Adams is sending all these cops into the tunnels. Like, what on earth is happening? It's really weird. But like, are there more tunnels? It was this in the first of a series, or was there more stuff going on? We got Bane planning something. You better make sure the Joker doesn't blow up the tunnels behind them. Yeah, I believe it's Bane, but you got the Batman reference, so it could be any one of those kind of villains. Only deranged people see it as a cult, or suppressive persons. That's right. Still having a little bit of neck soreness. I'm going to have to do some more yoga. Still having a little bit. Half the city's cops are down in those tunnels. What a strange story that is. Is there a video? Is there a helpful video explainer for this story? Let's take a look, because I really didn't look into this. I was so distracted yesterday. I was just so distracted. Like, I could barely hold a thought in my mind for like the whole day. People were trying to talk to me yesterday, and it was just like mama, and like just nothing being absorbed. Nothing being absorbed whatsoever. What are we looking for here? And a secret tunnel reminds me of the song from Avatar. Secret tunnel, through the mountain. In fact, Lucid Fox played an amazing remix of that song the other day, which is so good.
Let's get to the important news.
Tunnels.
All right, so in Crown Heights, police somehow stumbled on a network of tunnels built underneath a historic synagogue there in the Orthodox community. And there are a couple of theories about what was going on here. If we have this first element that we can throw up here. This is footage of mayhem that broke out after the police were like, look, you can't just be digging massive tunnels underneath the synagogue. Mm-hmm. We're going to have to clear this out. They refused to clear out, and so as you can see in the video, they
don't look at our tunnel.
They handcuffed using those little plastic cuffs the first person that was stuck in the tunnel, and that's when all hell broke loose, and the congregants started fighting back.
Yep. And
you see a little bit of pepper spray type stuff getting doused, and then
I am sure that plenty of people like Jackson Engel had a field day with this story.
Synagogue, and here's footage of the tunnels.
Really throwing red meat to the absolute worst people imaginable with this.
Underneath,
that does not look safe.
Then, it seems like well, anyway, let's get into the theories about what's going on. So there's two theories. One, some kids run amok. I want to hear the kids run amok theory is great. It's like it was just some unruly teens were told not to do this, and you know how kids today are.
Kids these days.
That's your posting tunnel.
Dug these
Mistress
tunnels.
of Insanity.
This is from Libs of TikTok. This is a tweet sort of saying,
Gen Z was taught that nothing is more important than their feelings, and now they're emboldened to act entitled and spoiled with zero regard or respect for others. We keep seeing this time and again in all our institutions. We must fix the broken education system. The future of our country depends on it. And this is her saying the disgraceful teens, this is how she starts, who dug underneath a well-respected synagogue, did so on their own after being explicitly told not to. They went
How do teens just build a complicated network of tunnels? I rented it as a goon cave. That's just smart.
That's not so much wokeness.
In the gig economy, we need to be making savvy choices
generationally
like that.
Gen Z.
The kids these days.
It's called having a second income stream.
TikToks and their
passive.
So this went massively
passive
viral
income.
on TikTok. A lot of this, when the tunnel videos first started cropping up, massive virality on social media, especially on TikTok. So the theory.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say.
It's so absurd, but let's address it first.
So either way, one thing we do know is that the tunnels weren't just being dug by some bored kids for the hell of it, right? Like it wasn't just a screw you to authorities. This is
it's called being an entrepreneur. We got a girl boss on our hands
described
here.
It as quotidian, but a fairly serious
TikTok
dispute,
tunnel girl.
internecine dispute.
We can look at this after.
Among different sects. In Crown Heights. So in reality, the explanation for the tunnels was at least somewhat more quotidian, Rolling Stone writes. The tunnels were the result of an ongoing dispute between the Chabad-Lubavitch community and a more extremist splinter sect, which has long been embroiled in turmoil over ownership of the building that is housing the headquarters. Members of the splinter group believe that the Rabbi Menachem Schneerson, who led the Chabad-Lubavitch movement before his death at the age of 92,
his alleged death
in 1994, is the Messiah. And that is a claim that the mainstream Chabad movement rejects. And so this had started happening.
The extremists believe that he's still alive, and wants them to do this, basically, right?
It's crazy. I mean, it's a crazy, crazy story. And so Rolling Stone goes on to say in 2006, a court determined that the mainstream Chabad-Lubavitch community had control over the building. So it's located on the Eastern Parkway in Brooklyn's heavily Hasidic Crown Heights, as Rolling Stone says. Yet there has still been tension between the two groups for all of this time, with the newspaper The Jewish Chronicle reporting today that about 6 months ago, a small group of members from the Messianic movement started construction on a network of underground tunnels in order to gain illegal access to the building. So 6 months ago. And this was, there were some of his videos
Splinter
that were
group living under the streets of New York?
Ago. Maybe a little longer
That's
ago than
Ninja
that,
Turtle-esque
actually,
to me
and
as
it
well.
sort of stayed a local story.
Of people popping out of the street.
Just people.
Can we have that one while we're chatting?
We do have more VO here that we can roll. This is the next element that we can put up on the screen, just so you can sort of start to see what this looked like. And I'll read more here from Rolling Stone. They say, at first, the internecine dispute between what is essentially two small sects of the already small Crown Heights Orthodox Jewish community primarily garnered only local media interest. The mainstream Chabad-Lubavitch community also immediately made it clear that it did not endorse the tunnels, with Chairman Rabbi Yehuda Krinsky issuing a statement saying the Chabad-Lubavitch community is pained by the vandalism of a group of young agitators who damaged the synagogue below Chabad headquarters, and he called.
I need to see the raw footage
odious.
here.
Now, Ryan, Rolling Stone also notes that this started taking
This
off.
Is wow. This is one of the greatest dudes rock moments in history.
Pretty obviously anti-Semitic about satanic rituals.
That's just such a bizarre thing to see.
From kind of QAnon adjacent accounts started to spread, and was maybe the fuel that took this from a local news story to a national one.
But also the image of the guy walking out of the sidewalk. If you're listening to this on the podcast, we're playing the clip of this guy that went viral, the big old hat, climbing out of, basically through a grate, out of the sidewalk onto the street, and then walking off. And just imagine you're walking down the street and you see that and try to describe it later to friends.
Listen.
You won't believe what I saw today.
I feel like that's something that, I feel like if I saw like a really any kind of Orthodox religious person from any religion, let's say, let's not specify here, okay? Anyone that's in like a specific religious garb climbing out of like a grate in the ground and just kind of like wandering off. I feel like that's something like I wouldn't even say to anyone that happened. I wouldn't even say. I'd just be like, I didn't see it. Like, if you think you saw that, no, you didn't. I would think I would just go, that's not for me. It's not for me to know what that is. That's none of my business. Whatever's going on there is not my business. And I would just move on with my day. Yeah, so that should be the NYC rule. That's right. Just mind your own business. These edibles are really hidden. This did not just happen. A guy dressed as a medieval monk sat next to me on the bus once. I never told anyone about that either. Side note, I was just watching the movie The Name of the Rose the other day. That's the ultimate like dad movie. Like I remember my dad watching The Name of the Rose in like the late 80s, early 90s. The ultimate dad movie. Instantly put me to sleep though. I liked it, but it instantly put me to sleep. Dude was in full clergy fit, floating out of a grate. Exactly, just like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know what's going on with that. Hey, I'm tunneling over here. Oh. I'm going in the freaking tunnel over here. Oh. Also, nude Bass Pro Shop guy. What the fuck's going on? Seriously. What is happening? What is this? Let's continue with this story.
Well, there was that guy on Twitter saying he was hearing people speak Yiddish, and he lived
under the sidewalk or something.
Well, he said, "I live in like a ground floor apartment building."
I believe that guy was just
he's like,
doing a jape.
I have no explanation for it. I don't know if that guy lived in Crown Heights, but that tweet started going viral too. Again, I actually don't think the anti-Semitic conspiracy theories are what made this story viral. I think this story went viral because it's absolutely insane.
Because it's crazy.
It's a crazy story. It's a crazy story.
People love New York too.
Yes,
the Italian cop talking to the dudes before
we got to see these clips. I need more about this.
Add some of that in post. That was just a great classic New York clip too. Where he's like, "What are you guys doing here? You can't just do this."
He says something like, "This is America.
I'm gonna have to clear the whole showl." Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to fix this by tonight.
Yeah.
Because also there are real concerns now that there's significant structural damage.
Right.
You can't.
Should write a blog on this. I'm going to blog this for sure.
To underneath
on my
historic
blog
buildings and not have some concern.
Yeah.
Not to be the structural engineer guy who's like insisting on everything being done by the book. But come on, guys.
There's a reason those regulations exist.
And as often as I have some libertarian impulses on these domestic questions, for example, there's a woman in Herndon who's gone viral on TikTok for digging a tunnel underneath her own house, more for the hell of it. But she has some sort of explanation.
Really, they were tunneling under the streets because there's a river of pink slime under New York City. And they're trying to get to the bottom of this. And no one believes them. And we're here laughing about it. It feeds on negative energy, folks. They're ghost busting. Rob, what song could move the slime? Caribbean Queen. Is what I would go with. The one in the movie is good, but I wanted to go with put my own spin on it. All Star would be good as well. Yeah. All Star would be good as well. Side note, rewatching Ghostbusters 2 the other day, and really the first one as well, I think it's really underrated. The actual, not just the effects, but the design, the production design of the ghosts. There's the part at the end of Ghostbusters 2, which is not as good as the original, but I think it's still very solid. When Janosch, there's the baby that's on the... He's on the Oscar. He's on the ledge of the building, and Janosch flies in with the schoolboy outfit and the baby carriage. It's genuinely quite scary, and it's got some kind of old German, some kind of I don't know what the era that it's referencing, but the actual design is really cool and interesting looking. with his eyes all lit up. It's very creepy. Like, that's the beauty. That's the cool thing about those movies, is they're genuinely quite scary at some points. I know the Jackie Wilson song. I've seen that movie many times. Was Vigo from Ukraine? I think he was just... Oh, Vigo. No, because he's Carpathian. What's Carpathia? Did they just make that up? Vigo the Carpathian. Janos, though, could have been Ukrainian. Lodane, don't make me sing Your Love is Lifting Me Higher to You. Don't make me. Hungarian, probably. They were into some weird shit back then, weren't they? Carpathians is an Eastern Europe mountain range. Okay. A Romanian mountain range. Interesting. Anyway, side note. I really do love the design, like the look of the ghosts in those films. And God, the new ones are just not good. The Kristen Wiig one was not good. Great cast, nothing to do with sexism, nothing to do with that whatsoever. It was just a bad movie, okay? It was a bad movie. It looked bad. It was just not enjoyable. It had that annoying, like, improv quality to it, and even though the first film was largely improvised as well, but it had this naturalistic feeling. The second one, the new one, felt like a parody. It felt like a parody of a movie where they're just riffing and doing sketches and stuff, you know? I'm sorry, but it was bad. And the new one, the Jason Reitman one, leans on this weird, like, nostalgia aspect, and that was not really great as well. But yeah, part of the reason that the originals worked, though, were because of how interesting the design was on those creatures. The Shoal. Thanks for the tier 1 sub. Brand new community member. See, sometimes this idle chit-chat brings in the new viewers and the new subs. Shoal, thank you for the tier 1 sub. I appreciate that. Maybe I have bad taste. I seriously enjoyed the newest one. I mean, there was things that I didn't hate about it, but I thought it was a weird mix of nostalgia. Like it's like they combined the Ghostbusters nostalgia with the 80s Spielberg Amblin Entertainment nostalgia. It was like those two aesthetics, they just like smushed them together, and it just felt weird and kind of exploitative to me. Yeah, it's loading. Like, I agree with what you're saying. For me, it was the first movie that I ever just like fell in love with, and I was very, very obsessed with Ghostbusters in like the mid to late 80s. So it's definitely not perfect, but it's something that I have a specific like nostalgic attachment to. I don't think it's sacred at all, though. I think you could make a new Ghostbusters movie or try to remake it, but I think the attempts to do so have been bad. Anyway, let's continue with this. And maybe we can look at this Tunnel Girl business. The 80s cartoon had its moments. I remember one they explored like the pocket universe of the ghost trapper contraption. I thought that was really interesting. There was some cool stuff in the cartoon. Ghostbusters 2 is one of my first... I think it was one of the first movies that I saw as well. In like 89, probably. Tunnel Girl link for later. Well, and I think the reason to bring up the sexism stuff, Lodin, is because like a lot of people had really negative reactions just based purely on that. I think that was a frustrating thing with that remake, is the cast is actually really good. Kristen Wiig and Kate McKinnon and Melissa McCarthy, like they could have, like the cast was good. I just thought it just looked bad and it was not funny and it was not good. But anyway, way off track here. Way off track. Let's go back to Tunnels.
just quotidian, probably a better description there. But she is like now being investigated by the city. And again, even as somebody with libertarian impulses, it's like you can see in some of these videos, there's a house not far away from her. So if you don't know what you're doing, you can cause other people's property to collapse. You can make it unsafe.
Your freedom to dig a tunnel ends underneath my property. I think would be a fair libertarian.
Or near enough to my property that you're damaging my property.
Libertarians are all about their own property rights too.
Yeah, to an extent.
Afterlife was better, but still not great.
We don't need to get into it, probably. But again, at its heart, what is a crazy dispute comes down to a messianic sect of Judaism, which again, those questions of the Jewish Messiah loom very heavily over the conflict over the West Bank. And over that land in particular. So this stuff, this is a sort of silly embodiment or manifestation of it, but these are ancient questions that mean a lot to people. To the point where they will dig.
I do like Ryan, but I don't think we need to see like some kind of conversation about property rights. Let me see this here. It seems like the one on Twitter has been, the one that went viral on Twitter has been, seems like it's been deleted. There's this one.
Why you need to expensive something? Not like this. Apartment of buildings. Not safe.
We don't do that in America.
Why you need to expensive something?
Not like this.
Did they offer you a show on Peacock? Not yet. Not yet. I'm hoping to hold out for that though. Buddy, they won't even let me fuck the tunnels. Jeez. The tunnel story. You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Must really be something to be on Elon's radar.
Progressive Canuck, thanks for 29 months, tier 1. It was very strange. The whole experience yesterday was very strange. I will tell you that much. It was bizarre. But as I mentioned to NBC News, which didn't get picked up, but I'm going to assume that with the commentary and the analysis that I've been doing is reaching the intended target and pissing off the intended people. So I'm going to go ahead and continue doing that stuff. I would kill a man for that tweet we saw yesterday about the guy saying he heard Yiddish a month ago and he didn't have a basement. That, I believe, I'm starting to burst everyone's bubble. I believe that was made up. I believe that was someone doing a bit of a jape. I don't believe there was a man that actually heard people speaking Yiddish under his floorboards or whatever. It is funny. It was funny. I'm surprised they targeted you. I'm not surprised. A lot of the tweets that I've been doing over the last couple of months have been seen by a large number of people, and have pissed off a large number of people. I think the tweet was from months ago, but I think it was like a fake tweet, though. And it was funny. It's a funny gag, but I don't believe it was like a real thing. Did they give you a specific reason? No, they did not. Nope. Just banned with no warning or reason. Just a vague thing about breaking the rules with no explanation of what rule there was or what tweet that it was. Yeah, it was just a bot sweep. Yeah, right. 2 Canadian banned. This Canadian's weighing in on world events. Someone call the cops. Call the police. I hate relitigating this every time people get mad about this. It's so stupid. This man is too wacky. This elderly blogger is just too wacky. We can't have this. Blood thinks he's on the team. Jesus Christ. I hate every single time. We got to let's relitigate this again. Let's relitigate this basic idea that people from around the world can weigh in on events that are going on in countries all over the place, especially in the global hegemon that controls the entire global economy and culture. Let's relitigate that again. Let's explain that again. Let's hold everyone's hand to try and make people understand this. Let's do this again. Twitch's very own elderly blogger. Absolutely. Yeah, this does not look safe. Again, just like I'm not like these building codes exist for a reason, right? That does not look safe. Like I would not be going in there. No way. Like, do you ever see those videos of people that love like caving? Have you ever watched those? And it just looks like the most horrifying way to spend your time. I don't know. It just seems just wedging yourself into these tiny little like crevices where if anything goes wrong, you're guaranteed to have one of the most horrifying, horrible experiences that you can possibly imagine. Being trapped in this situation that you can't possibly escape from. Like that just looks awful to me. There's nothing I would like to do less than that. Well, there's a couple things. To say nothing of if you get involved in some kind of a dissent-like situation. Tunnel or destiny debate. Well, give me a headlamp. I'm going in. We should do the Descent next spooky season. Next spooky season, we should do the Descent in the Discord. It's a very good horror movie. It's so good, Old Dutch. Yeah, like we don't know where it is. We don't know where it leads. I'm sure like the worst people in here are. This is just red meat to the absolute worst people you can imagine. to talk you through all this.
How did this guy get unbanned?
Really chill guy, thank you for the 37 months resub of tier 1. I really appreciate that. Really chill guy. I got a question though, okay? Let's pontificate on a little something here, okay? So what happened yesterday? Ken Klippenstein banned from Twitter. Rob Rousseau banned from Twitter. Jordan Ewell, no issues. No issues whatsoever. That's interesting. That's very interesting. And he moved to California, which is sus. Because I'm nice. He is very nice. He's a very nice guy. I'm nice. What am I doing? I'm nice. Sometimes I very nicely speculate on the possible links between intelligence networks like the CIA and Mossad with extremist groups like ISIS, and I do so in a very nice and civil way. What's the issue here? That's my whole thing, is being nice. It's part of my whole brand. I'm off the grid. They tried to triangulate my location, but they couldn't. Jordan's got a network of tunnels under his new palatial estate, Southern California. The whole network of tunnels. When the woke police come knocking, escapes down there. The Insurgents Tunnel. The Gooning Tunnel. Just outrageous. Gooning Tunnel. I have to play that remix. Lucid played this the other day on his stream, and it's such a banger. I've always really loved that song, and this remix is like an absolute jam. It's so good. One thing though, okay, before I play this track here. I have an announcement to make. Okay? So we talked a little bit about the event that we were doing, which was supposed to be on Saturday, and I talked about the issues we were having with that. I do have an announcement that it is being moved to Saturday, January 20th. So it's not this Saturday. We're moving it to next Saturday with myself, Nashua, Paris Marks. So if you're planning on coming to that event, if you're in Montreal or the surrounding area, it is not this weekend. It is next weekend. Saturday, January 20th. Set it in stone. Book it. Mark it in your calendars. It's happening regardless of whatever curveballs get thrown. We're doing it. Also, it's being moved to Edmonton as well. That's another minor adjustment that we had to do as well. In Montreal, I'll pull through with some nerds. There you go. That would be great, Pelicans. That would be great. We want to fill this room. No one. We really don't want to show up and embarrass ourselves. All kinds of really cool organizations tabling there. Media organizations. I want to fill up this room. I want this to be a cool and fun event that's also informative and stimulating. So next Saturday, January 20th at L'Annex on St. Catherine Street in Montreal, right next to Concordia University. That's where it's going on. Rumors about the Rams joining the Oilers. I cannot confirm or deny that. Anyway, you got to hear this. While we're talking tunnels, we got to listen to this. And once again, shout out to Lucid Fox for introducing me to this.
Appa,
Oh, don't let the cave-in get you down.
Let's get some dancing going.
The falling rocks
We're having fun
turn
today.
Your smile into a frown.
We're having fun.
The tunnel's as dark as that's when you need a clown. Hey! 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 Don't let the cave-in get you down. Don't let the falling rocks turn your smile into a frown. Hey! Hey! As dark as that's when you need a clown. Hey, river people! Don't fall in love with the traveling girl. She'll leave you broken hearted.
We're not river people.
Why not? Well, what kind of people are you?
Effusive Stoke, just wait till the drop. It's really good. The drop is as good as you think it's going to be. I'll tell you that much.
Two lovers forbidden from one another. A war divides their people, and a mountain divides them apart. The path to be together. Yeah, forget the next couple.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it, chat.
There it goes.
Good. Okay.
I know a god who
What
controls
is this?
all physical
This is still
power.
playing. Okay. Good. We got to loosen up a little bit, all right? We like to have fun on here. Now back to business. We're talking about tunnels. I don't know. It seemed appropriate. I thought that was your way of talking about Hamas and their secret tunnels. Well, it applies to that as well. There's a whole lot of tunnel talk going on over the last couple of weeks. Still got some neck issues. I gotta still do my yoga with Adrienne. I don't know if, let me see if they're still in the chat. Oh yeah, no, I already, okay, never mind. I already talked about doing my yoga. Okay, anyway, let's move on. Let's move on. Let's see what YouTube has to offer us. I think we're done with the tunnel talk. Unless there is anything else. War divides their people. Oh man. Look what YouTube's recommending me. Like, what the fuck? Oh, we can do Tunnel Girl. No, that's true. I totally forgot that. And it wasn't because femme. Let's do that, actually, because that seemed really curious to me. I just wanted to say, like, look at YouTube algorithm. The fucking Destiny versus Alex Jones and Glenn Greenwald and the fucking Krasensteins. 365k views. God damn, who is watching this shit? Who is watching this? Why? Why would you ever watch that? Why? That cannot be entertaining. No way. 3 hours and 18 minutes of this. What the fuck? Every day, my whole worldview about this stuff just gets demolished. And I get the little voice, the voice saying, maybe you should just do that stupid bullshit.
You can count on me.
Maybe you should just do that stupid bullshit, Rob.
Talk you through all this.
I don't want to. I don't want to do that bullshit. Anon, thanks for the gifted sub. War divides their people.
It's just been over a year since I started building my underground tunnel system. This is a 1-year recap. In August
This is a really
22,
specific
I cut an
hyperfixation.
opening off the side of the sub-basement and started to carve into the solid rock. Fabricated an elevator to lift material. 1,000 pounds at a time. As the entrance tunnel stretched longer and deeper, I bought an electric yard cart and converted it into a mine cart. I used hundreds of concrete blocks and yards of hand-mixed concrete for the 30-foot...
They shut her down? That's kind of sad. You know? I don't know what structurally, what impact it's having. I feel like this person needs to be doing this. You know what I mean? You know, just let her do it. Whatever bylaws or whatever you have to look the other way, just let her continue doing this. I feel like she needs to do this.
Entrance tunnel. As it got deeper underground, I ran into a lot of groundwater and a spring which made work harder and required constant pumping. Eventually I set up a sump basin and a pump which is keeping the system dry. Set up a blower and air duct for ventilation. The main chamber is 22 feet below ground, and I set up rebar lattice work and a steel form to pour concrete with a trailer pump.
This is like 1 year?
One of
this
the
is
forms
insane.
failed, and the concrete bulge needed to be removed, which is affectionately called the elephant's foot. There is still a lot of work left to do, but I am having a blast and enjoying sharing this project with you.
Man. What is going on there? I still don't know why. It's a good question. What is she building? Hit me with something else, Slow Dane. Hit me with some more of this. The fun police. Shut her down. Exactly. Wow. The land of the free, indeed. She first said a storm shelter. That's not just a storm shelter. And now to Lodane, our tunnel correspondent. A lot of tunnels to keep track of right now. That's right. This is a whole tunnel segment we're doing. She talked about it, but she was getting rock to build a castle. So she's like getting the rock from underground to build a castle above ground, and the tunnel is just like a sort of a fun little project in order to get the rock. Armor and cobblestone for her Minecraft build. Where else would the rock exist? Rob. Sorry. I didn't think about that, I guess. It's true. I guess that's where you would get it.
So I don't know how this keeps happening, but it seems like we have now unlocked a new character in the TikTok world. Like, genuinely, when I'm making these videos, I feel like I'm playing a video game, you know? Like, the further I go, the more I level up, I unlock some new characters. Literally, just in the last video, we unlocked some characters.
I see you and I hear you, Jay.
Not to mention all the other characters we've unlocked previously, you know, the TikTok mortician, the TikTok psychic, the pink sauce lady. And with that being said, it seems like we have leveled up yet again, because we have now just unlocked the Tunnel Girl. I'll be honest, the nicknames do need to get a little bit more creative, but this is what she has been dubbed on TikTok, and honestly, these videos have went mega viral recently. Now, I do actually have to give credit to a YouTuber called Amy Robinson, because I actually came across her video recently, taking a look at the Tunnel Girl, and yeah, I would love to say I was shocked, but it's TikTok, so I really wasn't. This seems like something that would happen on this app. But yeah, like I mentioned, credit goes to her. Great video. If you want to check it out, I'll leave a link in the description. But either way, Tunnel Girl actually goes by the name of Engineer Everything over on TikTok, also known as Carla, I think it's pronounced. And I've got to say, she's a very fascinating character. What she does in these videos is actually very impressive. Well, as I was watching through this, I thought, you know what, I wish I could do stuff like this. The problem being is that it's probably not legal, which, you know, is a bit of an issue. But let me give you some context as to the type of videos that Carla uploads, and then we'll watch for a few of them.
This guy sounds like a
talk about why
cartoon
this
character.
kind of all went wrong recently. But Carla is in the process of making a storm shelter underneath her home. And by that, I mean she has dug a 10-foot tunnel underneath her home that leads to a 10-foot by 6-foot room and is currently excavating an antechamber off of that. In fact, her pinned video actually shows a 1-year recap of the tunnel itself, but it's worth bearing in mind that this is actually a few months ago, so the tunnel's actually bigger at this point.
He sounds like more of a fake British accent than Rob's fake British accent.
Building my underground tunnel system. This is a 1-year recap.
Okay, we just saw this. We just watched this.
Just amazed that she's doing this all by herself, and she actually doesn't really have any qualifications to do stuff like this. She works in IT, apparently, which is very different to building a tunnel underneath your house. So even though that almost makes it more impressive that she was able to build this big tunnel under a house and show the process
And
of doing
Bleep Lord.
most of it herself,
That was the best
it
New
also
Kids
does
in the Hall
make it
sketch.
a lot less safe. A few possible problems that could be caused by
Dave
this
Foley
if
is
she
so
causes
great in that
a
with
sinkhole
the
to
expression,
her
the
home
pained
or
expression on
damages
his face when the
anything
song
else's
plays.
home. There's obviously also the possibility of carbon monoxide poisoning as well. She does wear a mask here and there in the videos. Not really that often. And it's also not just the digging part of it that could be a problem, like causing a sinkhole.
Hamas TikTok channel should have tunnel building tips. Well, you got to, if you want to learn how to do something, you got to go with the experts.
Isn't her profession.
Whether you agree with them politically or not.
This is all underneath her home.
Whether you agree with them politically or not, they're good at what they do in that respect. So.
Without a permit. And in fact, it definitely seems that way because she has now been told to stop doing this, which we will get to later in the video. And I mean, just to give you an example of a problem that could happen here is that she has actually uploaded a video showing that the tunnel almost caught on fire. In fact, it did, but she put it out before it got too big. Of course, got the phone first, to show it.
I've come to know a new drawback using fiberglass rebar.
Yeah, that's not safe.
For camera work, this is my first time using a fire extinguisher, and I'm a bit in a panic.
Yeah, I mean,
you sound very panicked.
You did get your camera, it's got to be said. But yeah, you can see why people
best
might be
tunnelers bar none. You got to recognize that.
With stuff like this happening just down the road, because it's not like she just lives completely in the middle of nowhere, right? She lives in like a normal estate with neighbors right next to her. You can see why this would be a problem. And in fact, it seems that the neighbors didn't actually know that this was going on. They would just hear loud noises all the time, but not really know the extent of what was happening. They probably just thought it was like housing work.
I'm wondering if is this more of like a rural area or is this in like a densely populated area? That to me changes the whole story.
They were worried.
They're really worried about their health and their safety. They talk to me about noise.
That's fair.
Like
it's in the burbs.
Noise, essentially noise pollution.
That's a little dicey.
Shaking, like just random shaking in the ground that they didn't realize where it was coming from.
I mean, can you imagine finding out that that's what your neighbour's been up to this whole time? In fact, there's actually a lot of work going on for house.
It's like in DC.
That is like going under construction or whatnot, so it is quite noisy where it is here. But I would still be very surprised to find out if it was a fucking tunnel going like 20 feet underground. I mean, who knows? Maybe Tunnel Lady is my neighbour. I mean, that would be a twist in the story, wouldn't it? But anyways, to give some context to the video we're watching right here, this is actually by an investigative journalist called Ara Bagado, who actually reached out to a bunch of the neighbors to see what their thoughts were on this situation.
Several neighbors expressed to me that they were worried about reporting anything because they don't want to get entangled with immigration authorities and they don't want to be deported. So those are some of the stakes for the neighbors here.
Which, by the way,
that's not the tunneler, that's the journalist. Okay, thank you for clearing that up, Lodane.
Stupid noise and the ground shaking all the time because the neighbors decided to dig a tunnel for no reason. Again, very impressive, right? The fact that she was able to do this, very impressive, but I mean, it's a bit selfish. And also probably worse than the fact that it's a bit selfish. Quite dangerous too, it could go very wrong, especially if it's not your profession.
At least one person that I've been in touch with has complained to local officials, and as of now, from what we know,
does she condemn Hamas? It's a good question.
Tunnel project is at least temporarily shut down.
So yeah, as you just heard us say, the project is being shut down. This is actually true, but this video came out a long time before Carla actually announced that the project had stopped. In fact, she carried on uploading videos saying that she was doing works at the house. I imagine they were obviously pre-recorded, and people just kept asking like, oh, is the project having to stop? Like, are you actually going through problems here? And it seemed like she was just kind of like ignoring it, didn't want to really address it. I guess because if she addresses it, then that can
shut down because of wokeness.
Had this whole time that she was kind of just brushing to the side that this could be dangerous and it could be illegal. But it wasn't until a bunch of like mainstream outlets started picking this up and found out exactly what happened, and then she basically confirmed it.
And it's a reason why I think that this project and the noise pollution and the residential fires and the silica dust and sort of all of the other inherent risks and hazards has gone on unpermitted for as long as it has. And those power dynamics are then reified when other white content creators on this platform rush to protect and defend Kayla without considering exactly who her neighbors might be.
I mean, that's a good point, right? If this is what's happened, if the neighbours have heard this noise and the shaking and whatnot, but they were scared to report it in case something could happen with them maybe potentially being deported or whatnot, like, that is a ridiculously unfair situation. And that's not to say that Carla is doing this because she knows who her neighbours are and they wouldn't...
Can't even collapse your neighbor's property on itself anymore due to the wokeness. The woke mind virus.
Scenario and tried to think more of her neighbours and what the consequences could be for what she's doing and the problems that it could cause and how dangerous it could potentially be. It seems like she's maybe brushed past that quite a lot. But yeah, like I mentioned before, a bunch of the mainstream news outlets have actually picked up this story and they've started posting articles about Tunnel Lady, if you will, Carla. And they have said, in response to the tunnel digging, Fox 5 received an email from the town of... And a spokesperson said the town received notice of activity of potential violation of the Uniform Statewide Building Code that was occurring at a residential property within the town's corporate limits. As is standard protocol following such notifications, representatives from the building's officials and zoning administrator's office conducted a site inspection on Thursday, December 7, 2023. So yeah, this is what I was saying before. That is clearly a situation that's kind of been going on for a little while now. This inspection was on December 7, 2023, and only just addressed it like literally within the last week or so. In fact, 4 days ago, as I'm recording this video, actually throughout the month of December, she carried on uploading the videos. The town is working with the property owner to correct any violations.
Thank you,
and
Joe.
ensure that the property is safe and in compliance.
That's the official editorial line of this program.
Red. Now, I'm not exactly sure how long something like this takes. You know, I've never really had to deal with complaints about me building a tunnel underneath my house. But it has been over a month now, and clearly she still isn't able to continue the project because she hasn't been uploading the videos. But she did upload a video just a few days ago kind of addressing it, where she does...
Hey, let's hear... I want to hear this.
Interesting skit.
Good morning. I need a moment to pull over. Just give me a second.
I mean, I've got to say, already she's put more effort into this TikTok than most TikTokers. And also, it just became very clear how she affords all the equipment to build this tunnel, because she has a Tesla. Her job is probably pretty good. Hello, mate. Do you want to build a tunnel? Eh? We could build a tunnel right now. Actually, I would not trust him in a fucking tunnel, to be honest. He would get lost.
That's what they said. They're from the city.
Right, okay, I'm gonna skip past, like, the skit, right? It's very, interesting acting, but she gets to a point where she, like, reenacts how the conversation went with the people who came for the investigation, and this is what she shows.
Hello.
Good morning, how you doing?
Good morning.
I don't know if you remember me, I'm Jack Smith.
Yes.
I'm a Bayport, building official. This is Jimmy Jones with the zoning department, and Brian with inspections.
What can I do for you?
We have some complaints, basically there's some construction going on. And we were just here, basically, to find out if there is and see what needs to be done.
What kind of construction?
Why don't you tell me?
It's excavation.
Why don't you tell me, ma'am?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, if by a little bit you mean digging a 20-foot tunnel under your house, then yeah, I guess just a little bit.
So they did give me a stop work order and are requiring an immediate evaluation by a professional engineer.
I think we got to get a couple of evaluations, probably.
Fortunately, contrary to few rumors here, it is constructed entirely below the slab of my house, and it shouldn't be too hard to get the permits and approval. So we'll be working on that.
Yeah, but the thing I just don't
A small amount of burrowing is fine.
Why did you not try and get the permits before starting? Because this was obviously always going to happen, especially when you're putting it online for fucking millions of people to see. And I mean, I'm not going to try and sit here and pretend that I know the ins and outs of getting a permit to do something like this underneath your home, but I can't imagine it's just as straightforward as just making it seem in this video. But what do I know? Maybe it is. I think they will definitely have something to say with the fact that she's doing it herself as well.
Video is fluff, okay.
Professionals to come round.
Wolf of Wall Street, I'm not fucking stopping. I would love for her to just be like they're keeping an eye on her. She's walking around like Tim Robbins in Shawshank Redemption, just dropping the gravel up through the sleeve or whatever. Ma'am, are you still digging under there? No. As there's like through her pant leg, there's all these like rocks and stuff dropping. No, these are unrelated actually. This is a totally different thing. It is anti-Dufresne behavior. She's Dufresne maxing. These are my therapeutic rocks. Oh boy, interesting. The movie The Great Escape did the dirt through hole in pants pocket thing first. Oh yeah, I've never seen that one. That's Clint Eastwood, right? Never watched that. I make chess pieces out of the stones. There we go. Yeah. I need to do some more yoga soon. Anyway, I think that's probably enough on the tunnel front, isn't it? I think we spent about an hour and 15 minutes talking about this with a couple of sidebars, talking about Ghostbusters and whatever else. I've never seen Lodane. I've never seen The Lady Killers. That's one of the Coen brothers movies that I've not seen. It looks like it has a really. I know it got weird. It got not good reviews compared to other Coen brothers movies. It looks like it has a really fun Tom Hanks performance in that, though. I like Tom Hanks when he does something totally weird and different, and he looks like he's having fun in that one. But I've never seen it. Lady Killer is good, says Doc. I liked Intolerable Cruelty as well. I thought that was underrated. Looks like a fun Tom Hanks performance. I love Intolerable Cruelty. I've only seen it once, definitely, but I remember not hating it at all. Okay, so what do we got here next here? What are we doing now? That's where my name comes from. Appreciation for Hanks in Burbs. The Burbs is so good. I was just talking about the other day. It's interesting. Actually, a really good Tom Hanks double feature about kind of like 20th century capitalist alienation. A great Hanks double feature would be The Burbs and Joe versus the Volcano. Joe versus the Volcano. The first like 30 minutes of that are like genuinely really fucked up and depressing. It's one of the most stark depictions of capitalist alienation that you can imagine. Tom Hanks in the first bit of that movie is just like, he's so miserable. He's so depressed. He goes to this office and it's just the most depressing place with the fluorescent lights, the flickering, blinking, fluorescent, buzzing lights. And he's all pale and he just looks like shit. That would be a good double feature. And The Burbs is just fantastic. That's Joe Dante. The Burbs is just fantastic. I'm talking about Joe versus the Volcano. The Burbs is the one, but I'm talking about a double feature. The Burbs and Joe versus the Volcano. I was describing my office. Seriously, Tom Hanks in the beginning of that movie, his hair is great too. He's got this really good mullet kind of haircut, and he's just so depressed. It's one of the most grim depictions of like someone just with no living in that lifestyle and just with no will to live whatsoever. Literally never heard of either of those movies. I haven't seen Joe versus the Volcano for a long time. I really do like the beginning. I don't know if entirely it's held up. Weirdly, Meg Ryan plays 3 different roles in that movie. Like for what some of our friends in Breakthrough News have for us. Maybe we can actually passed away in 2015. There we go. R.I.P. Great character actor. Tons of charisma. Could have been probably a leading man, frankly. He could have carried a decent comedy. He was great. Very about that voice there. I don't know. It's not. Sometimes I just do it unintentionally, James. Oh, and one more announcement. I mentioned this yesterday, but I'll announce it again, just in case if you weren't here for this. I'm in the process of finding a date for this, okay? But next month, in February, we've got friend of the show and my personal friend, Vijay Prashad, will be returning to this very program for his third TRRS appearance. I'm going to set the date. I'll make sure to lock that in. But just so you're aware, this is not a drill. We got Vijay Prashad completing the trilogy. Vijay Prashad joining the show once again next month. I'm in the process of going back and forth finding the date, but really, really looking forward to speaking to my friend Vijay again. I will make sure to let you know, Lodane. Love Vijay. Looking forward to having him back on this program. This should be good. Let's talk about Okay, we're getting serious now. There's been a lot of silliness. There's been a lot of silliness so far today, and that's okay. So we like to have fun on here, right? We like to have fun. It can't be all dour, doom and gloom all the time. We like to have fun. Let's get down to business, though. Let's talk a little bit about this case that South Africa is making against Israel. Okay, so you mentioned Lloyd Austin. So yeah, it is interesting, isn't it? The whole hospitalization that was kind of kept secret. I don't know what else to say about it. We talked about it a little on the podcast this week. Yeah, that's starting tomorrow, so this is a great time to start getting caught up on this, because we're going to be covering this definitely on the show, right? Definite dying empire vibes, for sure. When the like decrepit, dementia-addled president isn't even aware that the defense secretary is like also like dying or whatever. No one's talking to one another. No one even bothers to tell Brandon what's going on. I finally saw something in Canadian media from the Israeli ambassador about the charge of genocide on CTV News. It's 11 minutes if you're interested. Yeah, why don't you DM that to me, Old Dutch, and we can watch this Breakthrough News clip about it, and then maybe we can watch that as a bit of sort of media criticism kind of stuff. Israel's retained Alan Dershowitz. I don't want to believe that Alan Dershowitz is going to be arguing in Israel's behalf in this case until it happens. You know, I don't want to get my hopes up. But oh boy, is that going to be really something else. So let's look at this breakthrough news clip. I'm going to link it ahead. I'm going to go ahead and link it in the chat now before we get started. Please make sure you're subscribed to Breakthrough News and supporting the work that they do on here. Rania, by the way, on Instagram talked about my unjust Twitter suspension yesterday. But two friends of the stream, both Eugene and Rania, former guests of this program. Two friends of the stream and two close personal friends of me. Was happy to get the support from Rania yesterday as well. Someone that I respect and admire greatly. And I really appreciate the work that they do talking about these issues. Make sure you're supporting them. Let's look at this clip from Breakthrough News, Eugene and Rania, about this charge of genocide that South Africa is bringing to The Hague, which, as we've talked about before, as much as people like Anthony Blinken, or no, it wasn't Anthony Blinken that was this. It was John Kirby, the like real nasty fucking State Department guy, the bad cop to Anthony Blinken's good cop. You know, saying like it's completely without basis in fact whatsoever, just dismissing the whole idea, even though there's like a whole segment of this accusation that's literally just taking the words of prominent Israeli officials and just repeating them verbatim. That's a big part of what this charge is. So to call it when Blinken's the good cop, that's when you know you got a really great foreign policy situation. And I'm sure he did repeat it. That's not surprising at all. But calling it without basis in fact, when it's literally based in factual words that Israeli officials have said publicly on multiple occasions. Let's look at the Breakthrough News analysis of this.
That note, Rania, we want to turn for our first story here to the issue, one of the many ripple effects of what's happening with the genocide in Gaza, and that is the recent case, at the International Court of Justice filed by South Africa to stop
that
this
MF
genocide.
said the recent court.
We are very, very honored to be joined here on the show once again by Khulekana Skosana, who is a National Executive Committee member of the South Africa Youth Council. Khulekana, thank you so much for being back with us.
These people from the South African Youth Council go incredibly hard.
Well,
they go incredibly hard
here with us, and I guess
very
my
cool
first
people.
Question for you is perhaps
they do not mess around.
So important that South Africa took a step like this to go to the International Court of Justice and take on the Israeli regime there.
It is a new year, but not a happy one, because 22,000 Palestinian citizens, women and children, innocent, will never get to see 2024. And their only crime is being born with the citizenship that is of Palestine. And as South Africa, we know this very well. My parents and all the Black people in South Africa, their crime was their ethnicity, their tribe. So Nelson Mandela, when he became president, he did not forget about other people who are being oppressed. And he said that the freedom of South Africa is not complete until Palestine is free from the river to the sea. And we think that it's important that we carry on the message of President Mandela by ensuring that not only do we retweet, but we take active decisions as a government to ensure that our support for the Palestinian people is significant and of value. And as a result, we don't
internationalism.
We did not start supporting
what a
the people
concept
of Palestine now. We started by fighting for their ousting from the African Union back in April. We have also been ensuring that our citizens in South Africa, and especially young people, economically boycott products from Israel. And we have been able to challenge all major outlets in South Africa not to buy products from Israel. We've also withdrawn our diplomats and our embassy from Tel Aviv, and the South African parliament has voted for the closure of the Israeli embassy in South Africa, as well as the suspension of diplomats.
Oh, they're already making Zionists really mad.
It's something that is historically important for us stand on the right side of history, because we know how important international solidarity is when innocent lives are being lost. And we would like to shame and condemn the Israeli apartheid government and the Israeli killing machine, which is killing children and women, bombing schools, bombing hospitals, and claiming self-defense. And it's a Holocaust against the Palestinian people. And this is a position we're not about to move from. And we will not stop where we have gone. We will continue on every platform that the South African government and her people get. We will challenge Israel and any oppressor anywhere in the world.
You know, the Israeli and American response to this 84-page report, which I must say is very well put together. It's meticulous documentation of Israel's crimes in Gaza before the ongoing genocide that we're witnessing and during. I mean, one thing that really struck me was 9 pages of this report are dedicated to laying out examples of senior Israeli officials making statements expressing genocidal intent. But of course, the U.S. reaction, I don't know if you saw yesterday, the spokesperson, John Kirby, called the report meritless and said it was counterproductive.
Yeah, because he's in trouble.
Not true. And then, of course, Benjamin Netanyahu has called the report baseless, and other Israeli officials have said pretty ridiculous things, basically accusing South Africa of like racism.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious your response to the reaction of the Israelis and the Americans to this report. It seems like they're quite concerned that it could lead to some measure of accountability.
Well, we are not shocked, firstly, by the utterances of some of the representatives of the American government. It is not the first time they are on the wrong side of history. Mind you, the American government supported the South African apartheid government, and not only by supporting it in terms of public statements, but they gave them financial support, they gave them weapons, and we still defeated the the South African apartheid government, just like the Palestinians will victor against the Israeli regime. Good will always win. The women and children who do not have guns will always victor over the killing machine, which has weapons. And we are standing with the innocent civilians of Palestine. We are calling for a ceasefire, and we condemn any acts of violence against civilians, whether on the Israeli side or on the Palestinian side. The only way to resolve disputes of this nature is through diplomatic talks. And that's why we're saying there must be a sit down and reconsideration of a two-state solution. But we cannot sit and watch when Palestine, since 1948, there have been resolutions in the United Nations, and the Israeli regime continues to brazenly shoot civilians without any response whatsoever from the world. So South Africa has taken that step to say that we will be among what started as a few, but now is a many global citizens who are calling out the apartheid regime for its genocidal acts against the citizens of Gaza. We cannot watch while a killing machine eats away Palestinian land day by day and takes away the innocent lives of civilians in Palestine, in Gaza, and brazenly bombing them. And we just continue with our lives and wish each other a happy new year.
You love to see this.
As if there are no crimes being committed against humanity. This is, as I said, a Holocaust. This is genocidal, and it needs to be condemned. And Netanyahu, the criminal warlord, needs to be put in handcuffs and thrown in the most strongest dungeon, because we need to set an example.
Yes.
World leaders who are given power and they abuse it and kill people as if there's nothing wrong with that.
Lock them up.
This is the problem we have with one axis of power being dominant in the world, and that's why we've always
that's the incredible thing.
Multipolar world where power.
Hold on, let me just catch up on some of this here. Pelican says, for those wondering, the reason to include those statements is because proving genocide requires showing the intention to destroy a people in whole or in part. Paraphrasing a bit, since the different genocide statutes are all worded slightly differently. Kira V says, yeah, intent is usually the hardest part to prove, but not with fascism drunk Zionists. Like, that's the amazing thing. These fucking morons. Not only are they like just determined to just engage in this grotesque, barbaric spree of violence, indiscriminate bombing, mass murder, ethnic cleansing, but they can't shut their fucking mouths about it either. They're telling anyone who will listen exactly what their intentions are. It's been multiple pages of this document that they've put together, just compiling all the various public statements that important Israeli officials and people connected to the government have been saying. I mean, it speaks to how totally comfortable they are committing these crimes and how totally, like, certain they are that there will never be any consequences for anything that they do. And we'll see whether they're proven right. They may still be proven right, given the fact that they have the United States, the world's foremost imperialist power, fully backing every single thing that they do. It's not surprising that they do feel that comfortable. You know what I mean? It speaks to how totally overconfident they are, that there will never be any consequences, no matter how criminal, no matter how egregious or rampant the violence is. You know, they're so comfortable with that they're just out there openly, not only doing these acts of violence in full view of the world for months now, but talking about it as well, talking about their intentions. That's how confident they are that there will never be any consequences. That's why this case is really fascinating to pay attention to.
Because if America is able to say we stand with Israel, then nothing gets to happen to Israel. Whoever that America stands with, they can commit whatever crimes they want. The people will victor, and South Africa is correct, and would like to commend our Minister Naledi Pandor, for standing strong and sacrificing her personal security at the expense of the threats that are being rendered against her, against from the Zionists. And last point, we want to say, being anti the Israeli killing machine and the Israeli state is not being anti-Jewish. We work with Jewish people.
And allies part of the Hague Invasion Act is going to play into this too. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. That's exactly why they feel untouchable.
From the Zionists. And last point, we want to say, being anti the Israeli killing machine and the Israeli state is not being anti-Jewish. We work with Jewish people, we don't have a problem, but we cannot sit and watch when a state of Israel shamelessly kills people.
No, I think that's a tremendously good point. And, quite frankly, a number of individuals from, Joe Slovo to Andrew Feinstein today, and individuals with roots in the National Liberation Movement of South Africa, very prominent Jewish individuals who, of course, stand against Zionism. So I think that's a critically important point. And I guess, I'm glad you brought up the issue of multipolarity, because it feels like, both South Africa taking the case to the ICJ and also seeing countries around the world start to rally to it.
I swear to God, if I hear about a coup in South Africa in the next 6 months, I'm going to lose it. They also recently discovered oil in Burkina Faso. So definitely let's keep our eyes on the developments in Burkina Faso as that goes on.
It feels like, both South Africa taking the case to the ICJ and also seeing countries around the world start to rally to it, start to support it, from Malaysia to Turkey to others, that this in and of itself could become an inflection point in the shift from a unipolar to a multipolar world, to see all these countries, many of which, including South Africa, have good relations with the United States, stand up and say, well, listen, we're not going to be dictated to, and the world is not just going to be taken along by the whims of one entity.
And this is an interesting point, right? This is a big test of this kind of shifting geopolitical landscape here, moving into this era of multipolarity or multilateralism or whatever you want to call it. That was a big part of what that was like. As we've talked about, really the kind of like the incident that signaled that shift was taking place was Syria. Like we saw what happened in Libya. The United States government and its allies tried to do the same thing to Syria with the same strategy. And that was the moment when there were forces around the world that said, we're not going to let you do this. We're not just going to let you walk around and do whatever you want anymore. And Syria was kind of like the opening act of that. Ukraine is another example. But this is it, right? If it is a unipolar world, then you do have full impunity, whether you're the United States or Israel or any one of these kind of countries that gets accepted into this kind of Western hegemonic system. You do have full impunity to just like engage with the world however you want to, and you're going to get backed up, and there's going to be no consequences. And this is a big test of this right now, in this emerging kind of geopolitical reality that's happening. This is a big test. Is Israel just going to be allowed to just act with total impunity? Or is there enough of a kind of new international infrastructure being built up that countries like South Africa and whoever else is getting, there's been a number of countries in Latin America as well, and whoever else wants to get on board with this can stand up and say, we're not going to let you do this. This is why this case is so interesting.
And we strongly encourage the rest of the world not to sit by and watch when crimes against humanity are being committed.
I wonder if they. Sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting. I wonder if they'd be able to sell a Hague invasion as totally justified as good. I think that would, and justified and good. I think that would be a tougher sell. Like, we can talk about the Hague Invasion Act and everything like that, but like in practice, what is that going to look like? And is that just going to be allowed to happen? Let's say things got to that point, you know? Especially if U.S. officials get pulled into this investigation as abetting and aiding a genocide. Is that just going to be allowed to happen? I'll be the TRRS field correspondent. Good, thank you. I might need a front row seat as well. I might come for a visit. I'll go sleep on your couch. Kira V. I don't know what they call it in the Netherlands. What do you have there? Is it a couch? Sofa? Futon? US an inbank. I'll go crash on your inbank. US invades the Netherlands. Netherlands invokes Article 5. US fights itself. It's almost too easy. That's how the empire dies. Wow, this is interesting. When is this? 2:46 p.m. Okay, so this is happening now. Live update. Breaking from Quds News Network. The Arab League announces support for South Africa's genocide case against Israel in the ICJ. That seems pretty seismic, doesn't it? That seems pretty significant.
And the world is not just going to be taken along by the whims of one entity.
And we strongly encourage the rest of the world not to sit by and watch when crimes against humanity are being committed in Gaza, because today it can be Palestine, tomorrow it can be your country, just like we have had that experience as South Africa. And as victims of oppression and heinous killings and violations of international law, as we have experienced, we think that we must stand together as all the countries that have been oppressed by superpowers and call order on Israel. And we strongly call for the arrest, not only a ceasefire. We want Netanyahu in chains. He must be in chains. He must be arrested. 22,000 lives have been lost at the expense of this criminal state. So we strongly believe in the sentiments of President Mandela, who laid it clear to us already in 1994. That's almost 30 years ago. And he said that the freedom of South Africa is incomplete without the freedom of Palestine. So I've got a mandate from the founding president, the founding democratic president of South Africa, to ensure that I do not enjoy my New Year's and Christmas without standing strong in support of the people of Palestine, who today are being victimized, all because they are Palestinian citizens who are being killed wherever they run to. They run into a school, they are being killed. They run to hospitals, they are being killed in the hospital where they're supposed to get help. So we strongly support the motion by the South African government as the South African Youth Council, and many in our country, even Christian churches. The South African Board of Christian Churches has come out and said they do not support what Israel is doing. And Israel wants to use this religious standpoint to justify the killing of innocent citizens. We're happy that Christians all over the world have recognized what Israel is doing as genocide, and there's no justification whatsoever. You can bring any Bible that says, there's no Bible that says killing innocent people is correct. And Netanyahu must be in chains, and he must be thrown to the furthest dungeon in the world. And we are proud of President Ramaphosa for having had led the cabinet decision that said the Israeli must be taken to the International Court of Justice.
Well, you mentioned before some issues with like a backlash in terms of one of South Africa's officials. I'm curious, what has been so far, if any, reaction from the Israelis, from their various lobbying apparatuses against officials in South Africa?
We need all the non-US EU countries to vote yes and not abstain. I could see China and Russia being squirrely about convicting. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. It just, it feels like maybe this is just the moment where certain other countries that have tried to kind of like be the mediator and tried to like maintain good relationships with certain parties while also supporting Palestinians, it feels like maybe this is the moment where it's like, they need to take a strong stand on this. It's going to be really interesting to see.
If any reaction from the Israelis, from their various lobbying apparatuses against officials in South Africa. We've seen on the international stage, there's been some very negative commentary from Israeli officials in terms of how they're framing South Africa. But we do know that they typically do, in response to any sort of measure of accountability from any institution or country, they do tend to launch these kinds of smear campaigns to lobby to get their way.
We are completely unshaken by any smear campaign. What would move us from our chairs is a South African
this guy is
government
fantastic.
that sits and watches when
I'm getting
people are
hyped.
being
This guy's
killed,
hyping me up.
and oppressed
Kulikani.
just as in their innocent state. So we're unshaken. And smear campaigns and threats
Don't play defense.
that
We're not intimidated by these smear campaigns anymore. They don't work.
Whilst we're receiving smear
They don't work.
campaigns, we're also receiving support. We are also supporting countries which are also expelling the Israeli diplomats and so on. We're not the only ones. And we are encouraging others to join us. And there's nothing that they can do to us that will move us from our position, because from where we are as a South African people, it took strength and resilience to fight the system for almost 100 years, and nobody believed us. And many today say it has been a long time since 1948 and there's no progress with the Palestinian struggle, and would like to say that the Palestinians must not despair. The Palestinians must not lose
Wow, the
strength,
NDP is
because
really
we know that
getting
at the
crazy
end
with
of the
this.
tunnel, it is victory for those who stand on the correct side of history. So we're not
Asking
bothered
Jolie
by
to not
any
oppose.
slander,
Wow.
or
Goosebumps.
smear campaigns that threaten our leaders. We also have an army and security services that have ensured the safety of our officials, and would like to warn anybody that thinks they can come against our security forces that they might find something else. But we are people of peace, we are people of friendship, and we are still preaching that there must be a ceasefire and there must be talks, and we are still calling for a two-state solution. We are not calling for the extermination of what is the Israeli state, but we are strongly against what is actively happening, which is the extermination of the Palestinian state. Now they are making threats that they want to send them to Africa. What is Africa? Is Africa some dumping grounds? It's the same kind of commentary we heard from the English government when they did not want people to migrate there. They said, no, we'll send them to Africa, because they know that they've been able to do whatever they want here in Africa for a long time, but not anymore. The American government cannot tell us what to do. Nobody can tell us what to do. Times have changed. We are governing, we're in charge, and it is not out of favor. We defeated the system. We defeated the oppressor, and the Palestinians will defeat the oppressor, and they will defeat the killing machine, which is the Israeli apartheid state. So
colonial occupying armies, they're always destined to lose.
And those who are oppressed will
destined to lose against these kinds of insurgent guerrilla campaigns.
As much as international communities everywhere around the world stood with us when it was difficult, when it was unfavorable, people and citizens of the world stood with South Africa, and we are standing with Palestine, because if we are to foster peace that is enshrined in the statutes of the United Nations, we must not only preach and make beautiful speeches, but we must take decisions. And that is what the South African government and her people have done by taking the Israeli apartheid state to the International Court of Justice, by withdrawing its diplomats from Tel Aviv, as well as by voting against for the expulsion of the Israeli ambassador in South
same
Africa.
catalepsy kills.
We want to say, those who are being bought by money of Israel to close their eyes, shame on you, because one day it shall be you, and others will be bought too. South Africa, with the threat of economic sabotage that the Israeli regime is threatening us with, we are unshaken, we are not moving, we stand with Palestine, and Palestine shall be free from the river to the sea.
That's right, it shall.
Kulikana Skosana, National Executive Committee member
You can
of the
count on
South
me.
Africa
You're gonna have
Youth
good
Council.
old Rob
As always,
to
thank you
talk
so much
us
for
through
some
all
of your
this.
time.
Sup, Bobbert?
Jules, thanks for the 4 months, tier 1. Very much appreciated. Thank you. That was great. That was great. I'm hyped up. I'm hyped now. Old Dutch, our friend Old Dutch, sent over some Canadian coverage of this. Let's take a look at that. Oh, one more thing though. I have that queued up. I have that queued up for the next segment.
We believe
where Blinken echoes those same sentiments. One more thing though. While we're talking about South Africa and internationalism, always good to take a look at this clip, because people ask, well, what, South Africa, what do they support? Hamas? They're going after Israel. Why don't they condemn Hamas if they want the war to end? Why don't they do that? Why don't they demand that Hamas releases all the hostages? And that's what would end the war, even though we know that's not true. Well, we've already had this conversation, haven't we?
Let us move on to our next questioner at the microphone over there. Mr. Edelman.
Welcome to America, Mr. Mandela. I'm Ken Edelman. Those of us who share your struggle for human rights and against apartheid have been somewhat disappointed by the models of human rights that you have held up since being released in jail. You've met over the last 6 months 3 times with Yasser Arafat, who you have praised. You have told Gaddafi that you share the view on, and applaud him on his record of human rights and his drive for freedom and peace around the world. And you have praised Fidel Castro as a leader of human rights.
That's right. He is one of the all-time great leaders of human rights.
One of the countries that's head and shoulders above all other countries in human rights.
Absolutely.
Despite the fact that documents at the United Nations and elsewhere show that Cuba is one of the worst. I was just wondering, are these your models of leaders of human rights? And if so, would you want a Gaddafi or an Arafat or a Castro to be a future president of South Africa?
One of the mistakes which some political analysts make is to think that their enemies should be our enemies.
Destroyed. Destroyed. Eviscerated. Annihilated.
That we can and we will never do. We have our own struggle, which we are conducting. We are grateful to the world for supporting our struggle.
Finally.
But nevertheless,
After supporting our oppressors for decades.
Independent organization with its own policy, and the attitude of every country towards our attitude towards any country is determined by the attitude of that country to our struggle. Yasser Arafat, Colonel Gaddafi, Fidel Castro support our struggle to the hilt.
To the hilt. By the way, at this time, he was still recognized as a terrorist by the United States government.
There is no reason whatsoever why we should have any hesitation about hailing their commitment to human rights as they are being demanded in South Africa. Our attitude is based solely on the fact that they fully support the anti-apartheid struggle. They do not support it only in rhetoric. They are placing resources at our disposal for us.
They've got skin in the game. They're not just yapping. They're not just giving speeches. Not just paying lip service. I think there might be more. Like, I don't know. I don't want to go over the same clip, but he talks more about Palestine in this clip.
Would you want a Gaddafi or an...
About hailing.
The...
Is the position. Support it only in rhetoric. They do not support it only in rhetoric. They are placing resources at our disposal for us to win the struggle.
I do remember Biden claiming that he got arrested trying to visit Mandela. And, you know, to be fair, honestly, one of the best times, like one of the best Biden has ever looked is we looked at that clip the other day in like 87 or 88 when Biden's just going off about the horrific regime and like supporting the anti-apartheid struggle. But you'll notice that people like Biden only came around when it was like okay to do so, you know? Because for a long time, for years prior to that, the United States government was backing the apartheid regime, and Canada as well. There was deep support for the apartheid regime in Canada. My friend Michael Buchert has done a lot of research on that. So when it's okay, then people like Joe Biden were able to give the big fiery speeches about apartheid. You know? But prior to that, the U.S. government had been a staunch ally of apartheid in South Africa. Yeah, like right at the very last minute. Yeah, I'm really against this. And he gave very convincing speeches against it, you know? But I don't think he was getting arrested trying to visit Mandela in prison. I think that was maybe one of his classic stutters. One of Brandon's classic stutters. Love me, I'm a liberal. There he is. There it is. Amazing.
Having said that,
These liberals want to rewrite recent history and think we wouldn't notice. In the same way that they want to take credit for like the Civil Rights Act and all this stuff. Biden wants to take credit for the Civil Rights Act and that whole movement, while also being the father of the mass incarceration in the United States. And he gets credit for supporting the George Floyd protest and then gives more money to police officers.
I think I would be dishonest if I did not express profound disappointment with the answer that Mr. Mandela gave to the
Oh, no, I've never
question.
seen this. Who's this nerd? I've never seen this. I've seen this clip so many times and I've never seen the follow-up. I just need to express my profound disappointment. I'm so disappointed in Nelson Mandela. Who the fuck is this guy? Who's this dweeb? Oh, you're upset. This man is shook. How dare you? And how dare you, sir? I'm the CEO of neoliberalism. Who the fuck is this guy? Good Lord. Young Hans Moleman looking and sounding MFer. Can we speak to the manager of apartheid? Good Lord, who are these people? What has this guy ever done with his life? Probably works for some fucking demonic think tank like the other guy. For sure is a Reagan supporter. For sure. I'm gonna take this time to lecture Nelson Mandela about human rights. This is the ultimate American dog chauvinist mentality. Oh, sir, I'm just so disappointed. I'm sure Nelson Mandela will never get over the embarrassment and the shame of disappointing this absolute loser.
That is the position.
Having said that, I think I would be dishonest if I did not express profound disappointment.
He's almost crying.
The answer that Mr. Mandela gave to the previous question, because it suggests a certain degree of amorality. It suggests that what these people do in their own countries,
like Castro giving people health care. Giving health care and education to peasants.
Is totally irrelevant, even in terms of the issue of human rights, as long as they support the cause of the ANC. I hope that is not what Mr. Mandela meant, and I would hope that he would clarify that issue further.
I thought it seemed pretty clear to me.
And at the same time,
It seemed pretty clear to me.
involved in the internal affairs of Libya and Cuba. I refuse to do that. As far as Yasser Arafat is concerned, I explained to Mr. Sigmund that we identify with the PLO because just like ourselves, they are fighting for the right of self-determination. I went further, however, to say that the support for Yasser Arafat in his struggle does not mean that the ANC has ever doubted the right of Israel to exist as a state legally. We have stood quite openly and firmly for the right of that state to exist within secured borders. But, of course, as I said to Mr. Sigmund in Geneva and others, that we carefully define what we mean by secure borders. We do not mean that Israel has the right to retain the territories they conquered from the Arab world, like the Gaza Strip, the Golan Heights, and the West Bank. We don't agree with that. Those territories should be returned to the Arab people.
Mr. Mandela.
Oh, this guy, the Zionist guy near tears there.
I also explained to Mr. Sigmund and company that in our organization, we have Jews. In fact, Mr. Gaddafi
Jews were actually
did not allow us to open our offices.
central to the anti-apartheid struggle. Not central, obviously, but we're a strong component of the anti-apartheid struggle.
We work with the Jews in our organization. And he didn't allow us to open an office until February this year, when he had to accept us as we are. We are not prepared to be swayed by anybody. We have an independent policy which we accept no matter with whom we discuss. The Jewish leader have any doubts about our stand, I am prepared to address them and to allay their concern, because they are a very important community both in South Africa and, of course, in the States. And I'm prepared to iron out any differences that might exist, but they must know what our stand is.
Yeah, absolutely, Farflight.
Arafat is a comrade in arms, and we treat him as such. And as I have said, we have many Jews, members of the Jewish community in our struggle, and they have occupied very top positions. But that does not mean to say that the enemies of Israel are our enemies. We refuse to take that position. You can call it being political or a moral question, but for anybody who changes his principles depending on whom he is dealing, that is not a man who can lead a nation.
Cool. Yeah, I never watched that whole clip. Israel would happily put him in prison. Well, that's the thing. For as diplomatic and like political as that kind of statement was, you know, making this kind of a statement, especially today, he would be branded as an anti-Semite and a Hamas supporter and a terrorist sympathizer for making this case. Mandela owning clowns is good content. It is, yeah. And okay, so now I would like to take a look at some of the, I believe is it CTV? It's the CTV coverage of this genocide accusation with the Israeli ambassador, and for sure, I can already tell this is going to give me a rage panic attack. Let's take a look at that. And I'll also remind people, before we get started on that, if you can, please subscribe to the channel. I haven't really mentioned that much so far today. Going on 3 hours in here. I'm the most canceled, censored man on twitch.tv. I need all the support that I can get. So if you can, please subscribe to TRRS. It's $4.99 per month. It's totally free with an Amazon Prime account, which you can transition to a Twitch Prime sub, totally free of charge. You can gift subscriptions. You can tip. There's a number of other ways where people can help out this program. If you enjoy tuning in every single day, I do this show every single day. As you know, it's a lot of work. It is a job. It's my job to do this show, which people seem to enjoy for whatever reason. But if you enjoy being part of this community and you enjoy tuning into this show each and every day, please subscribe if you can. The only way that I'm able to keep doing this show every day is through the support and the generosity of the community members. Yeah, and I am going on 3 hours here, so I don't have all day to hang around here. So if you do enjoy the program, folks, if you like tuning in every day or listening or watching or being part of the community, or you want to support the work that I do here on twitch.tv, on TRRS, please subscribe if you can. Very, very helpful. I appreciate it a lot. And it's the only way that I'm able to keep doing this show, which we love, you know? $4.10. Thank you for the gifted sub. Thank you, $4.10. I appreciate that. Do we hear any more before we move ahead with this segment that is for sure going to make me and everyone else very angry? Leap Lord, thanks for the 420. It's the weed number. Leap Lord, hell yeah.
Fart.
Yeah. It's funny because the alert plays for a long time and then says the TTS. It's always kind of funny. Where is Strip Club Breakfast Buffet? It's a good question. Was it Strip Club Breakfast Buffet that just came in here and dropped 20 subs one time and then just I don't think has shown up since? That's a real power move. That's a real power move. And if someone is watching that wants to support this show with a very, very generous gift like that, that does, of course, as you know, trigger a very cool and exclusive and exciting alert, which we've seen a couple times. Not that many, but a couple. And if anyone wants to, if anyone's feeling extremely generous, you too could become one of the extremely generous tier 1, a top tier members of the Friendship Triangle community. And then I can move on. And I'm sure any moment from now, all the subs are going to start trickling in. Are we feeling weird yet? I'm not. I can wait just as long as you can. Will these subs help pay for your own secret tunnel? I would love to have a secret tunnel. That would be so cool. And any moment now, we can go into this next segment. Just start scrolling my phone.
you can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Eigenbat, thank you for the gifted sub. That's very kind of you, Eigenbat. Thank you for rescuing me from that. Thank you for rescuing me from that awkward moment. Here is this CTV news segment, which is sure to make me incredibly angry.
Submission against Israel to the International Court of Justice distracts the world from all of these important efforts.
Oh, it's distraction.
Moreover, the charge of genocide is meritless.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken made those comments today during his fourth visit to the...
So is there anyone else in this segment, or are you just talking to the Israeli ambassador about it? Again, this is the thing that we talk about when we do like media criticism, or we talk about like the way the news works, and how there's this like this almost religious devotion to hearing from both sides of an issue and having to take some bullshit centrist stance. And you see ways whenever that gets thrown out the window. Like you would think, in the interest of journalism, in the way that we learn about journalism here in the West and Canada especially, you would hear from one perspective and then you hear from the other perspective. And you have the journalist or mediator kind of figure who's not really editorializing or any way. Are we doing that, or are we just going to talk to the Israeli ambassador about this? Like, why? What's even the purpose of that? We know what they're going to say. What's even the purpose of having this on the air? She's American and he's an Israeli mouthpiece. Yeah, that's fair and balanced. Are we going to hear from anyone? Are we going to hear from anyone from South Africa to make that case? Are we going to hear from anyone with any Palestinian representation? You know, anybody? Or we're showing a clip from the Secretary of State, and then we're doing an interview with the Israeli ambassador on this. I wonder what the Israeli ambassador is going to have to say about this.
Middle East since the start of the Israel-Hamas war in October. His remarks come as South Africa prepares to bring a case to the International Court of Justice later this week, accusing Israel of genocide in Gaza. Israel strongly denies that accusation, and the country's ambassador to Canada, Ido Moed, is with me live now in studio. Ambassador, pleasure to welcome you back to our studio. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you for having me.
I want to start with the case at the ICJ, and I fully expect and understand that Israel will deny that accusation and defend itself against it. But I
this man should not be on the news. He shouldn't be in the country.
Case around genocide.
Get the fuck out.
But an interim injunction, which has a lower evidentiary bar that essentially orders Israel to cease fighting. Would Israel heed that injunction?
Well, let's start with the accusation itself. It's preposterous. It's ridiculous, and the fact that we reject it so fully, it's because it's such a, it's not founded on any legal basis or factual basis. It has no merit whatsoever, and actually, it's a political use of an international
completely word for word what the U.S. State Department is saying.
Enough is used when it was actually based on the Holocaust.
It's very comprehensive. What's in this, in this accusation?
There is no foundation for it, and we believe that there is. The court also will see that very quickly because of the fact that Israel is doing its utmost to make sure that people stay out of harm's way. When we look at the concept of genocide, we have to understand that it means that not only having the intent, but in action, working towards destroying
check. Intent and action,
and so on,
open and shut case.
Does not apply in this case in any way whatsoever. We are fighting against Hamas.
It's so meritless. They cited only official Israeli sources and statements. That's right.
Towards destroying a group of people and so on. Does not apply in this case in any way whatsoever. We are fighting against Hamas, terrorist organization that is guilty.
They've killed over 10,000 children. It's not just the idea that we allow the motherfuckers like this to go on and make the case that we're waging war against Hamas. There's now 3 months of evidence that they're doing no such thing. You're fighting Hamas by leveling the entire north of Gaza. You're fighting Hamas by murdering 10,000 children. Like just the fact that they're out there saying that on TV unchallenged shows how completely fucking useless our media is, and how much it's embarrassingly failed at this moment. He has zero pushback against demonstrably and cartoonishly false statements. Oh, Savage Goon, it's not even close. You've killed more children than Hamas members. It's not even close. Assassinating journalists, over 100 journalists. Just like 2 days ago, blew up a car carrying multiple journalists. %85 displaced of over 2 million, and it's just Hamas. And just like we've lost count of all the just the massacre after massacre after massacre after massacre. And this guy is still out there saying that. With zero pushback.
And even genocide. And the fact that it's supported in this effort by South Africa makes, I think, South Africa in a way complicit in these crimes. What we are doing is making sure that those who are not involved, those who are not part of the
cited
Hamas
your own
terrorist
government,
organization,
sir.
are staying out of harm's way. We made it
This
very
man is
clear
a
from the
terrorist.
outset.
Lock
We
this
made
man
very
up.
clear what our intentions were. We said very clearly.
This guy is an accomplice to the mass murder of children. Lock him the fuck up.
To target Israelis. We are out there to destroy the regime of Hamas, and we want to have our hostages back. And which country in the world would allow another group or whatsoever to hold 200 or 100 of their people hostage?
Exactly. And that's, according to this man, not something that I personally believe, but what country in the world would allow someone to hold their people hostage like this? Well, then it seems like all the armed struggle and all the resistance that Palestinians have been waging is totally justified then. By that exact logic. Who would allow that? Does Israel take hostages? Yeah, they do. They've taken many more hostages. They've got hostages that have been in Israeli jails not for 2 months, but for multiple years, who have never been charged with a crime, who were arrested when they were children walking to school. Who would ever allow that? Well, then I guess all the resistance is totally justified. Then I'm glad we could clear this up. I'm glad we can clear this up. If now that you admit that it's all completely justified. Including collective punishment of civilians, which is something that they've been engaging in.
So we have to continue this war, and we will continue it while making sure that people who are not involved stay out of harm's way.
And I certainly
This fucking liar.
And I understand Israel's right to defend itself, like many of your allies have spoken.
Oh. This is like bringing back my neck pain to look at this. This is what passes for journalism in this country. Oh, I'm so sorry, sir. Please let me ensure that you understand that I fully support you in everything that you do. God damn. Let's hear the hard-hitting follow-up question.
Of the US, the UK, and Canada. But I respectfully ask you, can two things be true at the same time? I understand that you're saying that Israel will do all it and is doing all it can to prevent the loss of civilian life. But when people see the images that they are seeing and the scale of death, 23,000 people, according to the health ministry.
This guy is nodding along. 23,000
today who have been wounded. Can you understand how they would be asking, while still holding Hamas to account, also be asking questions about your country's conduct?
Questions are fine. Israel is part of the international community. We have no problem. We're working in fully transparency when it comes
you
to
missed the part when I was talking
the
about
Gaza
you.
Strip.
Or,
we have a special military unit called COGAT, C-O-G-A-T. They are working together on a daily basis with the United Nations, with other international
They're
partners.
They're murdering people from the United
sure
Nations.
That as much as possible, international aid is going into the Gaza Strip. This is our responsibility according to international humanitarian law, and this is exactly what we are doing.
Then why are so many civilians dying?
Yeah, good question.
We have to ask that to those who are responsible for it, because we know that Hamas holds
You're throwing
civilians in harm's way.
Hamas.
They've
You're the ones
stated
launching
that
the
they put
bombs.
them in harm's way because
You're responsible.
that's their sacrifice to attain their goal, which is to destroy the state of Israel. So they force their people to stay where they are. They don't allow them to move out of it. They instill
They're
their
bombing
rockets,
safe zones.
their
They're
missiles,
bombing
their
UN
weapons
humanitarian
depot
shelters,
underneath
killing indiscriminately.
refugee camps. When we are now working to uncover the tunnels, the huge extent
More
of
tunnel
tunnels,
talk.
more than 500 kilometers of them, running underneath the Gaza Strip, it's an enormous network that was built at the cost of the livelihood of the people living above the ground. These are the Palestinians. So Hamas was actually exploiting the international community to create a war machine. Now, we are trying very carefully to fight this war machine, to dismantle it so that it will not threaten Israel anymore. And we are doing that very meticulously, very slowly. There are
this is
a lot
killing
of
me.
victims. We know that. This is a war. And in war, also in international law, we accept the fact that sometimes people die. We know that. We try to do as much as possible to avoid that. We actually protect with our tanks the movement of people from the northern part of Gaza to the southern part.
Not
so
only
that
have they
Hamas
not
will shoot at
protected
them.
people in Gaza the way this fucking liar is saying, they can't even protect their own people. That's what those tanks killed God knows how many people on October 7th, the day that set all this shit off. Not only can you not protect Palestinians, and not only are you not even trying to, you literally murdered your own citizens, the people that you claim to care about. You're shooting women and children with sniper rifles. We can all see this. We see this every goddamn day. Fuck.
Force them to stay in place.
And certainly the genesis of my question is not to excuse Hamas, but does Hamas's culpability here relieve Israel of any agency? I think that's the question. And it's not just me asking, right? It's Antony Blinken, the Secretary of State today, who said that the death toll is, quote,
this is
far
power
too
play. This
high.
is so hard
David
hitting.
Cameron, the former Prime Minister of the UK and the Foreign Affairs Minister there today, also testifying that he is worried Israel has contravened international law.
So
that concern exists.
Let me be clear. Any victim, Israeli or Palestinian, is too many. We know that. We've been forced to enter a war.
10,000 children
that we have. We have a
we've
terrorist
been forced. We've been forced to. You forced our hand.
Has vowed to destroy the state.
This is always like, this is every single time throughout the history of colonialism. Like, this is what it always says. Like, anytime there's any kind of uprising, and then the occupying power comes down with 100 times more force, and they say, well, you forced our hand. We had no choice. We just had no choice but to do this. You know, you see it like all over, right? You see it in the Haiti slave uprisings. You see it in the Indian Mutiny, with the East India Company in India, and in the British forces in South Africa as well. When they got absolutely owned by the Zulus in South Africa, the exact same thing. They come down even harder. And they say, well, you forced us to do this. Every single time. It's the fucking Golda Meir quote over and over. We can never forgive the Arabs for forcing us to kill their children. These people are just absolutely sick. Everyone involved in this segment should be in prison.
Of Israel. And if they are let to do it, they will do it again and again and again. So we cannot stop this fight. We are, however, working very closely with all international partners to make sure that as many people stay out of harm's way. So we understand when people are talking about too many, because
he's a fucking liar.
That's the fact. But what can
and you can
do
just
when
go
you're
on the
fighting
news
a
and
war
lie
against a
brazenly
terrorist
like that.
organization that instills
And this is the
itself
most that you get. Well,
within the civilian
respectfully, and we respect your right to defend yourself, and well, of course we condemn Hamas, and that's what you can do. That's all you have to do. And then you just have to give this canned like PR response, where you just brazenly lie And that's enough. That's enough for the hard-hitting journalists of Power Play on CTV.
Population that doesn't carry any uniform, that tries to do anything possible to make sure that.
Is she going to bring up the comments from Netanyahu and his
This
ghouls
is a
at some
part
point?
of a
I would
very
be
complex
shocked
war
if that
we're
was
trying
true.
to wage, while at the same time facilitating as much as possible humanitarian aid into those, to get to those people who need it.
I think part of the reason that there are questions being directed at Israel is also because of some confusion around or lack of clarity as espoused by your government and various people in your government about what the actual objective in Gaza is. Because while you're talking about eradicating Hamas, other ministers within the government, for example, the finance minister said that Israel must control the territory.
I'm genuinely
in the Gaza Strip and
surprised.
significantly reduce the number of Palestinian residents.
I'm
He
genuinely
suggested
surprised that
the
this is
removal
being
of around
brought up.
90% of Gaza's residents would help achieve his goal. Israel's Jerusalem Affairs and Heritage Minister said in early November that dropping a nuclear weapon on the Gaza Strip is an option.
But I will point out though that like it's one thing to bring up those statements, right? It's one thing to bring up those statements, but it's another thing to bring up those statements as a way to just lob them at this PR man for this genocidal, murderous, monstrous regime, and then just allow them to say like, no, and lie and lie and lie and lie. Right? You're kind of it's like you want credit for asking these hard-hitting questions on Power Play, but it's not really hard-hitting when the guy can just lie to you in response. And you just accept that. GM Nick, it's 3:43 p.m. But welcome.
Rebuked by the prime minister at the time, but he still said it. He also maintained that there are no non-combatants in Gaza, adding that providing humanitarian aid at that point to the Strip would constitute a failure. Your opponents are using those statements to buoy the argument that what Israel is doing in Gaza contravenes international law, and that your objective is not simply to eradicate Hamas, but to, eradicate the population of Gaza. Mm-hmm. Can you respond to that?
So we have to be judged by our deeds, by the facts on the ground.
Yeah, and the deeds are backing up every genocidal statement that they've been making. We are judging you by your deeds. What the fuck do you think we're talking about here? Again, over 10,000 children, some estimates as high as 13,000 children so far in the last 3 months. We're judging you from your deeds, from the nonstop horror show that we're all seeing take place, which you're a PR frontman for.
Lives of people count, and this is what we know. This is what we're trying to avoid, to have as minimum as possible people lose their lives on both sides. And so we have to liberate the Gaza Strip from Hamas. We have to make sure that the people there have a safe future.
Oh, thank you.
But at the moment, we are
Why aren't they
fighting a terrorist
thanking them?
organization.
Why aren't they thanking Israel for liberating them?
The actions of the military in Israel, the Israeli Defense Forces, you see how meticulous they are acting. They are informing.
You see how meticulous they're acting. Yeah, we do. They're meticulously mass murdering children. We do see how meticulous they're being. They're very meticulously bragging and laughing about destroying people's homes. Like, what? We all see that. Liberating the group that has overwhelming public support.
The population exactly when they are going to target areas and what they are going to do. And so even if we pay operational price, tactical price,
And that's why we cut off all their water and food and annihilated all their hospitals and housing and
combat
schools.
Any army had to wage in history, I think.
But is your objective to take over Gaza, to be blunt? Is it to eradicate the population
Our
there?
objective is to restore security for the Israeli people. We have no claims over the Gaza Strip. We left that area in 2005. What we got in return is a terrorist organization that used all the international funds.
And we left the area. Yeah, we left the area with a massive prison fence around it that no one is allowed to leave. Fucking, you're welcome. You're welcome, everybody. and now we're here to help everybody out with their security. We left that area with a massive prison fence around it and military checkpoints on the outside of it, with no ability to leave and no airport and no seaport, and fully controlling every single supply that gets in and out, every bit of food, every bit of humanitarian aid. Oh, you were so generous. I can't believe a terrorist group formed in this situation. It must be because Palestinians are just completely predisposed to being violent and murderous people. That must be the reason.
Machine, and to create a mindset among its population that was able to perpetrate this horrendous crime against Israelis. This is what we got. So we are not going to get back into that. That's for the Palestinians to determine their own future. This is what we've been saying all along. But 130 Israelis are being held hostage there.
How many Palestinians are being held hostage?
There are young Israeli soldiers.
As we talked about with John Elmer a couple weeks ago, these hostages that you're complaining about, who you've killed, probably many of them with these bombing campaigns, could have been released on day one, on October 8th, on October 9th, on October 10th. They have no interest in that. They're holding significantly more hostages. They could have exchanged these hostages at any time. The entire Palestinian nation and its people are being held hostage. And that goes to that speaks to the point too, Cradbabes, that it's not even about Gaza, but the West Bank as well. The rates of people being murdered and imprisoned in the West Bank as well at the same time, where there is no Hamas. God damn.
Just females who have been raped, who have been hurt in so many ways, and we have to think.
And there's the sexual violence claims again.
What is the international community's real effort to help alleviate that humanitarian aspect?
Do you think it's wanting? I mean, we've interviewed a number of them here and their family members. It is awful what those families are going through. But do you feel that the response to that has been wanting?
I think that the International Red Cross has to be able to have access to these people, to deliver medication, to assess their condition. And we believe that these people should be liberated unconditionally. This is a war crime of a magnitude that is unprecedented. And so we have to continue to wage this war. We have no other choice. We have to defend ourselves. Again, this is not a war of choice. It is a forced war.
Why are only they allowed to defend themselves?
We win this one because, as the opponents had said, if we don't win, they will continue to do it again and again.
Ambassador, I have to leave it there. I'm out of time.
Old Dutch says it's incredibly hard to watch this shit, but it's good to bear witness to what the boomers and the Mimas and Papas are being brain poisoned with. No, I know it's really frustrating, but I do think it's important to watch these clips as well. You know, especially we talk about Canadian media and stuff, and I think that's in terms if we're putting on our media critic hats to watch that kind of a segment. I think that's my big takeaway. What is the takeaway from this segment? This PR guy for this genocidal, murderous regime is able to come and put this spin on what is obviously just an egregious crime that anyone with two eyes can see. But we get to pretend that we have this like serious media apparatus that's holding them to account and asking the tough questions. Like I said, I did not think that she would bring up that point about statements made by the Israeli government. And I'm proven wrong. You know, I was wrong. I was wrong about that. She did bring it up. But that's my point, though, is that what's the point of asking these hard-hitting questions when that's all you're doing? You're just providing, it's like T-ball. You're just setting up a little T-ball for the PR guy to go and stand there, go and knock it off. You know? So you just ask him the hard-hitting questions. He completely brazenly lies in response, and then it's like, well, that's it. That's it. We asked the hard-hitting questions. What do you want? They answered, but it's like that's not actually being like a tough journalist and having trying to hold someone to account who's weaseling and squirming his way out of answering a tough question. Yeah, it's a laundering operation for sure. It's just like here's I'm going to give you, and I'm sure they went over the questions beforehand as well. Here are the questions, and you can just spout off your like pre-written, programmed PR answers, and then we can move on. And you can provide this justification for the horrible murder and violence that you're overseeing. We can pretend that we're serious journalists, and everybody wins, you know? And again, no effort. Now, in the next segment, let's talk to someone from South Africa who's making this case. Now, in the next segment, let's talk to someone from Gaza about what they've been going through. Now, in the next segment, let's talk to someone that's going to have an alternative perspective. No, none of that, of course. None of that. Usually we like to have that in these cases, but of course that's not present in this moment. Let's just ask a bunch of questions. We'll allow this fucking PR hack to have some canned answers to those. Blatant lies, which everyone knows, no follow-ups, and let's just pat ourselves on the back and go home for the day. Like the job well done. ISIS just condemned Hamas. Is that true? Might have to tweet about that. But yeah, that's how our complete bullshit media apparatus works to launder just like the worst crimes that you can imagine. And so most people walk away from that segment watching this clip. Most people walk away from that being like, oh, so Israel is totally justified in what they're doing, and we have this wonderful media establishment that's asking hard-hitting questions. And we have this free press, you know? Wow. The official spokesman of ISIS, Abu Hudayfa al-Ansari, has released a speech condemning Hamas for sacrificing the people of Gaza on the altar of Iran's regional project. Huh. I wonder if there's another way that we could talk about this. How dare you, Rob, suggest that ISIS and Israel share similar foreign policy goals, similar goals and values, and that there's some kind of possible connection between Mossad and Western intelligence and ISIS. How dare you say that? How dare you say that, sir? Disgusting. Well, the thing is, Visegrad is full of shit, crad babes, but if it, like, Visegrad as a full of shit arm of Western imperialist media, you'd think it would be trying to make the connection between Hamas and ISIS, you know? Not the other way around. That's what I think gives this credibility, because this runs counter to the narrative that these media organizations have been trying to promote. Rob, stop being vindicated, challenge impossible. Even ISIS from the Jewish Defense Corps. Even ISIS is condemning Hamas. it's almost like they're saying you got to hand it to them. It's almost a little bit saying that you got to hand it to them. That's very interesting. Why does ISIS accidentally keep helping Israel? I mean, I've been asking that question, and people have been attacking me. People have been very mean and nasty to Rob for asking some of these basic questions. Isn't there a drill tweet about this exact situation? Yes, there is. You do not, in fact, have to hand it to them. You know I have to do it to him, folks. Is that the move, do you think? Is that the move? Let's just do it and be legends. Very interesting. We're looking into this. Folks, I gotta go soon. I'm 3.5 hours into this thing. 4 o'clock. I gotta go pick up my kid pretty soon. A mere 25 subs to go. A mere 25 subs to go to get to the goal. That's barely anything. It's barely anything at all. So if you can, folks, please subscribe to this program. It would mean a lot. 25 subs to go. That's within reach. It's within grasp. What do you say? Is there anyone else out there that would like to support this program? It's barely anything. So far, we got Calm Like a Tom.
You can count on me. You're gonna have
on
good
the
old
leaderboard
Rob to talk you through all this.
Leading the leaderboard. Bleep Lord, thank you very much for the 2 gifted subs. I really appreciate that. We got Diego at number 2, and we got Sikalufakis at number 3 with 6 gifted subs. And now only 23. Look how quickly this is progressing. Look how quickly this is progressing.
You can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
DJ Tom Hanks, thanks for the 2 gifted subs. I really appreciate that. Thank you for that. Does anyone else want to subscribe to TRRS? It's $4.99 per month. It's completely free of charge with an Amazon Prime account, which you can easily convert to a Twitch Prime sub. Only 21 to go. I can taste it now. I can practically taste it. I can't do it myself, but just so everyone knows, if someone drops another 36, Rob might sing Hey 19. I think that's got to be up there in the list of songs I need to do. Absolutely. I listened to it in the shower today, actually, Progressive Canuck, and I had a nice singing session. in the shower today, listening to that. That's a good one. So what is this, the scare quotes? St. Lotus. No, you don't need to have the scare quotes. I love having a nice shower sing, okay? It's nice. It's one of my favorite activities. My back and my neck and my shoulders have been all messed up. You got some hot water in there. Have a nice little sing. Wonderful. Wonderful. I have shower songs. What's your go-to, Catalepsy? Good acoustics in there. They Might Be Giant songs. That's a band that I never really got into. I never really got a chance to explore their catalog. Wait, hold on. This is not... Sorry. This is not the right version. And God, I've got to put on... Sorry. I've got to put these songs online. I've been telling people I was going to do this for a while. There we go. This is a better version. I sing old Sonata Arctica in the shower. Can't say I know that one. So does anyone else want to support this program? Again, folks, it's the only way. The only way that I am able to do this show each and every day. It's a lot of work. I'm attacked constantly. I'm silenced and censored and banned by some of the most powerful people in the world. But I'm happy to do that because it helps people absorb this information. You know, it helps form this community. It gives us an outlet for all kinds of interesting ideas and discussions that we do not hear in our media. But the only way that I'm able to do that is if people subscribe to the program. Only 21 subs to go. Should be no problem. We made a huge amount of progress. If you can, please subscribe to TRRS. I wonder if anyone's going to come out of the woodwork for that tweet. It's goofy Finnish pop metal. That sounds nice. Rob's standing in the crosshairs of billionaires so you don't have to. And so am I a hero? You know, we don't need to use these kind of words. Who knows? That's not for me to judge. Am I saying that? No. Are others sometimes saying that? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I can't control what people say. I can't control what people say, folks. You're not a hero, but you remind me of Kevin Costner in the movie The Bodyguard. You're all the Whitney to my Kevin Costner. And when we're in trouble, you see me carrying you. When there was only one set of footsteps in the ground, that's when I was carrying you, Chad, like Whitney Houston in the film The Bodyguard. Carrying you away from danger. putting my own safety and security on the line. And do I ask for anything in return? Yes. A measly 21 subs. That's all. And that's a bargain. That's a bargain when you think about it. Oh. Do we have anyone else that wants to bail me out of this painful segment? Just to save your friend Rob from further humiliation. Not even because you like the show or you support the community or any of that stuff. Purely just to like bail me out. Saying that's your favorite segment. This is the segment where we torture you. This is where we torture and humiliate you.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Crad Babes, thank you for the gifted sub.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Diego, thank you for the gifted sub. Diego, you've supported this stream more than anyone. If anyone deserves to have a little break from supporting this channel, please. If I'm trying to guilt people in the community into supporting the work that I do here, which is just something that I have to do because I need to try and make an income from the stream, believe me, Diego, you're exempt. Okay, you're exempt. Don't let me guilt you. Okay. I appreciate the gifted sub. You are good though. Okay. If there's one person that I'm not going to guilt and shame for not subscribing to the channel, it is you. I don't know if that made sense.
You can count
what I
on
just
me.
said.
You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Comrade Bushy, thank you for the 2 gifted sub. Another person that comes off and bails me out very often. At the last moment. Thank you, Comrade Bushy, for the 2 gifted subs. Okay, I'm slightly less humiliated now. That's good. There's no one. Does anyone have any stream recommendations? Like, I did David Tovarish yesterday. I mean, like, we could raid David again. I like David's streaming. There's Hassan, of course. Always a pleasure to support these smaller time streamers, you know, that are struggling to get by. I don't see Zach App streaming. We're gonna do David again, okay? Thank you again, folks. Thanks for tuning into the show. I will be back tomorrow. We will hang out again tomorrow. Maybe we can start seeing some of the footage of this this whole case with South Africa and Israel. Plenty of stuff going on. Thank you again for joining the show and for everyone for supporting this community. I hope you have a nice evening. And that is all. Give my regards to our friend David Tovarish. Thanks again, folks. Stay like this for the next 5 seconds.